Yeah, live. Hi, guys. We said high five then. Oh, man.
Visit your LDV dealer for a test drive today. LDV, bring it on.
At CAT,
Bloody
small
ads.
parts make a big impact. With two convenient ways to shop, you can buy on
The fact that the government
The batteries are going flat on this. Hey, Diane. Good to see ya.
Wednesday, feel the morning light. The world's a bit different, something feels just right. Coffee's brewing strong and the day's brand new. Weird Wednesday, wake up, here's a song for you. From the dawn's early rise to the evening's
Hey, boss. Good to see you, bro.
to the rhythm, let the good times flow. In the heart of the country where the wild winds blow. Weird Wednesday, wake up, let your spirit show. Weird Wednesday, wake up, start your day with a smile. Strum that banjo softly, let's enjoy for a while. Embrace the morning, let your heart take flight. Weird Wednesday, wake up, everything's alright. Wake up, it's Wednesday, feel the morning light. The world's a bit different, something feels just right.
Yeah, boss. A zombie apocalypse coming on cinema near you.
Coffee's
Oh.
and the day's brand new. Weird
Welcome to Weird Wednesday, Thursday, something like that. It's something like that. Holy cow. Friends, welcome to another live edition of Weird Something or Other. I wish I could have gone live with you yesterday, but unfortunately the schedule did not permit. So I wanted to go live with you today. So here we are going live. And hopefully things hold up because it has been a little shaky of a start. If you were tuning in for the pre-show, there was not much of a pre-show because I got distracted because my camera went off. So hopefully the camera stays up today, because if it doesn't, I think I might have a backup plan, but I'm not sure. Welcome to Weird Thursday edition, friends. Hopefully you're having a good time today and everything's going great on your end. We are, well, let me just tell you, we were planning on doing a live yesterday, and what got in the way was a stinking in-studio guest. Can't get around him, you know? No, it was a great time, though. Yesterday, I had Adam Davies in studio, and what was interesting about that was, I want to say his last name is Davis, and I've heard people say Adam Davies, so I said Adam Davies, and during the interview, I'm pretty sure I heard him say Davis. So I don't know what his last name is, but he was in studio yesterday, and we did almost 3 hours of a conversation with him, and it was a heater. What can I say? It was an absolute rocker of an episode. Usually, when I do a recording in the studio, my brother is, a little bit of a gauge, I'd say, where, maybe he'll tell me, how he thought of it afterwards. And, usually, yeah, it was a good show. Yeah, good show, Tone. Yesterday, he was like, that was a freaking bonkers episode, dude. And I was like, really? He's like, yeah. So you guys can definitely look forward to that. And I'm doing some logistical things here. All right, I think we're good. Okay. So anyways, you guys can look forward to that. I think we're going to drop that on I think December 3rd is when we're going to drop that for everybody to listen to. So you can look forward to that. Adam lives locally and he finally came in studio. We were planning on it for quite some time and we finally got it done. So good times, but that's why I couldn't make it yesterday because, working with limited time, I get into the office around 8:15, and by the time he got here, it was about 10 o'clock. He left around 1:15, and I had to leave at 2:15 to pick my son up from school. So that was my work day, and it was a good work day though. So I have a couple things I want to talk to you about here today before we get into some weird news. I'm going to be gone next week. I'll be out of studio, so I will not be doing a weird Wednesday or a weird Thursday, Friday, Monday, or Tuesday show. This is going to be a week where I will not be showing up because I will be out of town hunting really bizarre, weird things that, the things that I do, I can't really expound on it past. Actually, I can. So let me just tell you. I am going. If you guys remember, I don't remember what episode it was, but it was an awesome episode. I called it the Meadow Project, and that's because that's what it's called literally in real life. Trey Hudson came on the show and talked about this piece of land that he and his team discovered and has a lot of weird, bizarre, anomalous things happening on it. And it was a freaking awesome show. I asked him if I could come.
Sounds like the Skinwalker Ranch.
And he said, yeah. And so that's where I'm going. I'm going to spend a week in the meadow next week. And there's a lot of weird things that have happened in that location that they've uncovered. I had to sign an NDA to get access to the location and the information, all the information. And once I signed that NDA, he gave us a debriefing. And that debriefing went... my jaw was hurting because it was smacking the table so hard. On the episode that he was on with me, he talked about how he and his team had a situation where they were looking through, I guess he had a two-man team that was on some kind of ridge overlooking the meadow with thermals. And they noticed an anomaly on the thermal. There was this like weird cube thing in the meadow. And so they directed another team in that direction. That other team could not see what they were seeing on the thermal. It was only with the thermal they could see it. So they were directing them because they were going into the meadow blind. And as they approached the cube, one by one, they entered into the cube. And as they entered into the cube, his claim on the show was that they disappeared. And I've seen the video. And they indeed disappeared. And then they reappeared when they left the cube. So, yeah, we're going to go do that next week. So I will not, sorry, but I am not showing up for Weird Wednesday next week. I got, dare I say, more important things to do. Okay? Dare I say. So will I find myself a cube portal? Probably not. I think the odds are probably against it, but there's a lot of other weird things that happen in that area, and we're going to go and document as much as we can. Very firm believers that, where can you see this video at? It's not public, Isaiah. Isaiah says, where can you see this video? It is not public. Like I said, had to sign an NDA to get access to even watching it, and he didn't give me a copy. I had to sit there and watch it with him. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun, and we're going to be going and doing some bonker stuff next week. So hopefully I come back alive and with tales to tell. But our whole mode of operation is basically to put ourselves in an environment that has known activity and let it unfold around us to see what shakes out. So we're not really the types that are going to go in there trying to, we're not going to whip out the Ouija boards and, try talking to the dead and things like that. It's not really how we like to do things. So we kind of go with the idea that people have claims of paranormal or supernatural, cryptozoological experiences, and most of the time it's because those people weren't asking for the experience. It just happened to them in that area. And when you have areas that are repeatedly having
Hey,
those
Johnny,
kinds of
good to see ya.
experiences, it might be a good area to go visit. And so that's what we're doing. We're going to go and visit those areas and see what shakes out. And when we spend extended period of times in these areas with the intention of being observant and aware of what's going on around us, because we know it has such activity, we tend to have activity happen around us to document. So that is the goal. That is the goal. Is Black Mass Paranormal going? No, he is not. No, he is not. So I wanted to show you, and I'm just going to tell you about it. If you want, you can go check it out on your own. I made a post on the Confessionals X account. You can follow us at, I think it's at T Confessionals, because the Confessionals was taken 8 years ago when I started the show. So at T Confessionals, follow us on X, and I made a post there of a BBC archive. And I wanted to play it today, but Jack advised me not to because of rules and regulations, I guess. I guess it could
Hey, Johnny, good to see you, mate.
an offending video to play for YouTube as far as copyright goes. And also because it had people's heads on sticks. So apparently that's not a good thing to do on some of these platforms. But I did share it because it was a YouTube video. So I figured it's not that big of a deal. So I just shared it on X just to be safe, though. But you can go follow us on X and watch the video, because it is talking about these, I think it's called the Hexham heads in England back in 1976, if I remember correctly. They were doing the BBC was doing some kind of documentary on it, just, like a segment. And they had this doctor lady kind of give her take on what these things were. But what was interesting is, I guess the claim was that when people are dabbling at looking at these things, weird things would happen around them. And they prefaced it with, surely this doctor would not have, she's level-headed and she wouldn't have weird things happening to her. And sure enough, the whole part of the segment that she's on is pretty much her talking about how a werewolf appeared, I think it was in her house, and she saw it 2 times. And this is back in 1976, and it was broadcast on the BBC. And she talked about seeing a half man, human, half canine creature in her home. And so I figured I was gonna play it today and talk to you guys about it, but Jack said that I'd get the channel taken down or something like that. So follow us on X, and you can watch it for your own self. We're making some headway here on getting William in studio. So if you guys have not listened or watched back to a few weeks ago, I did a show talking about the damage from Hurricane Helene in East Tennessee and West North Carolina. William, at last I checked, he raised over $50,000.
Which they still haven't been looked after, the North Carolina ones.
$1,000 just to help support these people in these areas. So that money was going to efforts to renting equipment and rebuilding roads and purchasing supplies for people to survive the winter, because there's a lot of people that are without heat, they're without water, they're without electricity, and they're not planning on leaving. And the projection is anywhere from 4 to 6 months to a year before they get power and water and things like that. And so William, his efforts were to go out there and help these people wherever he could. And he raised a lot of money to do that. And he did that for several weeks. And he had to go back home because he had gotten radiation poisoning. And he's not the only one. There were a lot of people suffering from poisoning. I'll just say it that way, because I'm not sure the exact scope of the nature, but he has all the details. But I will say,
Happy birthday, JD. How old are you, mate?
Say this. He is on the mend, and from what I understand, he will be here with me in studio tomorrow. If he still is up for the travel, he had to go back home and let his body detox from the exposure. And
3 years older than me. I'm 61. Gabe's 60 on Wednesday.
I think we know where the radiation's coming from. And I think it's going to be a huge cover-up. I don't think it's going to be something that is going to be covered on the news. And we're going to talk about it, and we'll see what happens from there, because I think it needs to be talked about. But yeah, let's just put it this way. I think it seems like for decades there has been chicanery going on in this area, and it's been going undetected because of the remoteness of where we live. But the hurricane and the damage from the hurricane exposed some things that William physically suffered from, and so have other people. So we're gonna talk about it when he gets here. And last I heard, he was planning on being here. So we're gonna record with him tomorrow if he shows up. And that will be broadcast, I'd say, relatively quickly, not next week because of the turnaround that we'd need to do on that because we're leaving town, but maybe the week or two after we'll release that update for everybody, because I think it's important for people to hear and know and understand what the heck is going on in North Carolina and in East Tennessee. East Tennessee is not as bad as North Carolina, though. I'll tell you that much. It definitely did not get hit as hard, and the people are not suffering as much because a lot of it is due to the fact that the government in Tennessee responded so much better than the government in North Carolina. So lots of things to talk about on that front. And I'm hoping to sit down with him and talk to him.
Hey, good to see you.
Moving forward. So let's talk about this zombie biobot situation here. This is a article that I first came across. Where did the website go? Where the heck did it went? Oh, come on, Tone. I tell you guys, like I think we need to start bringing Jack in here to live produce these shows for me, because I wind up losing everything. So I don't have the article. I don't have the article right here. And I also don't know why every time I do a Weird Wednesday, Weird Thursday, my voice starts going out, because that's exactly what's happening now. I really don't know. Live on the air. Man, I've been trying to treat my voice with gentleness and respect, and it's been slapping me in the face. I had this article pulled up here, and it's no longer here, so I don't know what happened to that, but it was off SasquatchChronicles.com. Our buddy Wes over there was posting it as a blog. Let me see if I can quickly pull it up here. I found it. Not that I really needed it. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but let me read you a summary here of it. That way we can kind of jump in from there. Maybe we can all together try to understand this science talk, because
Shawnee, I don't think they've done anything with North Carolina yet anyway, have they?
I don't really do the whole science thing to begin with. I'm not really that kind of, I'm not geared like that with my brain. It says scientists have created lab-made organisms that exist in a third state beyond alive or dead. Let me start that over here.
What's that mean?
Scientists have created lab-made organisms that exist in a third state beyond being alive or dead.
How could you have a third state beyond life or death?
Organisms called biobots are made from cells of living and dead organisms and can do things far beyond what they were originally designed for, like repairing damaged cells. This discovery challenges how we understand life and cell behavior. Unlike normal organisms that follow set paths, like caterpillars turning into butterflies, these biobots can adapt and perform new tasks. Scientists believe this breakthrough could lead to achievements in medicine, like repairing damaged tissues, and in creating other innovative living robots. There's still much to learn about the mysterious third state, but it has.
And guys, what about them 350 FEMA trucks? I forget where they went, but I didn't go to North Carolina where they were needed.
It's the potential to revolutionize science and technology. What is going on back there? What is going on back there? Because they're packaging this as a scientific achievement and advancement. And I might say, yeah, it's a scientific achievement and advancement for sure, but an advancement in what direction? Where are we going? What is going on back there? I'm very concerned about this because it sounds like the beginning of a horror movie that we just don't want any part of. I have here some scenarios of maybe sci-fi, futuristic type scenarios that I thought might be something worth looking at when it comes to this whole biobot situation.
Guys, American military, they've actually done courses to handle zombies, and they teach you how to put a zombie down. And it's 2 taps: shoot them, and then once in the body and once in the head. They've actually got programs to combat zombies, the American military.
What about immortal biological machines? Imagine biobots that can continually repair and adapt themselves effectively, avoiding death in the traditional sense. These organisms could serve as a self-sustaining machine, useful in environments to hostile or human life, such as deep space or toxic atmospheres. They could act as explorers, maintenance workers, or even as ecosystems themselves, thriving indefinitely in harsh conditions. That sounds like zombies to me, right? Like, if we're talking about a third state of existence, they say it's beyond life and death. It's different. And what they're doing, and in the article that I was reading, basically they took cells from living matter and cells from dead matter, and they combined them. And they did some, alchemical, voodoo, magical science stuff. What do they want to say? They say, tomorrow's science is today's magic. That kind of science, right? They did some kind of Harry Potter, get me the Hollywood wand, and tapped it a few times. And then all of a sudden, poof, this biobot appeared. And it has this weird state of existence that it's not alive, but it's not dead. It seems to be programmable. Am I saying that? I'm not saying that right. Programmable. And it can do things that are tasks that it was not originally told to do. So these are essentially, these biobots are, their own being, that they're not alive, they're not dead. They can do tasks that they were not originally programmed to do. And right now, these articles that are talking about it are talking about how, these things are, these little tiny things and, repairing cells. But what if they, we just had I think it was in South Carolina last week or earlier this week, they reported, 43 missing monkeys that got out of a lab. Like they were going to be doing testing on these monkeys in a lab. They I think it was 43 escaped, and last I heard, 25 of them they found. So they found 25 out of 43.
How many things are going purposely wrong in America, like the monkeys getting out? How in the hell could 47 monkeys get out? They wouldn't be all in the one cage. They'd be in different cages. So someone's had to go and open like 20 cages or more to let these monkeys out.
Monkeys
And you can't do that accidentally.
from a scientific lab that that was going to be doing experiments on the monkeys.
Yeah,
kind of
well, I know
experiments
what's
are we
not
talking
alive,
about?
not dead.
Right? What kind of experiments are we
I
talking
don't
about
know.
here?
Yeah, very
And they're
weird
like, oh,
concept.
don't worry. The monkeys that escaped, we didn't test anything. They didn't go through any testing, so they're pure. Pure from what? Pure from what? What were you going to do to them? And if they escaped after you tested on them, what would we be dealing with at that point, right? These are all the questions that I think a lot of people like us would be thinking and considering. So just on the other side of the mountain from me, apparently there's probably about 15 to 18 monkeys still running around. And if they come on this side, I'm out here hunting Bigfoot and I see this little monkey running through the woods. I'm liable to think that it's an infant Bigfoot. What should I do about it?
Hey guys, I was just thinking, you know where the zombies could come from in the Bible? Them 5 months where the people who took the mark get stung by hornets or whatever they are, locusts, and they can't die. They try and commit suicide and they can't die. Maybe that's a zombie apocalypse.
About that, you know? Tricking me. That's what they're doing. They're tricking me. But you know, they're over there experimenting on monkeys, you know, in South Carolina. What are they going to do with these biobots? You know, we've seen it over and over again. They can't stop. Like we had 2020 happen, and you know, I think it's safe to say now it was a lab leak, right? I mean, I think most people think that, and I think they even admitted that now that it was an actual lab leak. So the lab leak happens. And then we're like the dust hadn't even settled yet, and we're getting reports and articles being put out there saying that science is trying this thing and this, that, and the other, and like building on this idea of manipulating sicknesses and diseases for future scientific gain. They literally were talking about doing more of it after 2020. The dust hadn't even settled. They're like, oh, we're going to continue doing this. And it's like, what is going on? Like, can we just pump the brakes for a second, catch our breath before we dive back into the pool? Like, we just came up. We're trying to breathe a little bit, catch our breath, and you're trying to shove us underwater again. So we know that that's what they do. And so if they have this biobot that it's not alive, it's not dead, it acts on its own.
Wow.
It does things for us that we, you know.
Wow, Diane with Alex Jones. They were about to throw him out of his studio, and a judge has come in and saved his butt, has he? Yeehaw, go Alex.
And it seems to be able to do tasks that it was not programmed to do. That sounds like a biological biobot zombie to me. And are they going to stop there?
Sean, he's got to be controlled info. Otherwise, they would have knocked him. They would have got rid of him years ago.
Is science going to stop there? Are they going to be like, okay, we got these zombie biobots. That's good enough, guys. Pack it up, go home. Nothing else to see here. We're done experimenting on this. We're done pretending to be God. We're done. No, we know they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. They're going to continue to advance in this alchemical science, voodoo, grab the Harry Potter wand and tap it 3 times stuff until they make more things happen. I'm telling you, I think in the next 10, 15 years, we're going to have full-grown, I'm going to say it right now. I think we're going to have full-grown zombies running through the streets of Knoxville, and we're going to be running for our lives. Not only, it's not going to be bad enough that we have all the other crap that we're dealing with. We're going to be running away from zombies, too. Let me go into this more. So what about mind control and adaptive soldiers? Since these biobots can perform beyond original programming, sci-fi could imagine them being used as adaptive soldiers or workers directed by human thought or responding to battlefield conditions. Such organisms, air quotes, might be engineered to take commands from a central hub, heal themselves, and even adapt their functions to better suit the needs of the mission. Zombie soldiers. Zombie.
He has, Diane. I do like Alex Jones a lot. He was the first conspiracy guy around it. No, Jesse Ventura on conspiracy theories, then Alex Jones. So he has done a lot. And they did go after him, so maybe he's not part of the establishment at all because they sent him broke. And he's only come good now because Trump's back in.
Freaking soldiers. Like, we see these videos online of these robots, these robotics, the advancements in robotics that we have. I just saw a video yesterday or maybe even this morning. This robot dog looking thing, it didn't walk. It had, well, I'm sure, yeah, it definitely could walk, but it had these wheels for feet. And they showed this thing just cruising down like a forest hill, like bumps and going over boulders. And it just kept its balance. It just kept on going down and it's just doing its thing. And I'm like, yo, there's no outrunning this thing. There's no outrunning these. These things come for you. Just stop. Just stop. So we hear about these robot dogs and the police dog robot things. Like the advancements in robotics is on another level, right? Imagine if they paired that with the zombie biobots that they evolve into full-blown zombie biobot robotic humanoid, just a little bit looking like a human. Run it out there on the field, see what happens. I mean, I feel like we're living in sci-fi times. Definitely feel like we're living in sci-fi times. What about this? In some futuristic scenarios, scientists could leverage the third state as a means to preserve consciousness beyond death. If memories or consciousness could be encoded into singular functions within these biobots, or I'm sorry, cellular, not singular. Read the word, Tony. They might allow a form of pseudo-immortality where memories or personalities could live on within organisms that exist outside of traditional life and death. That sounds like a Black Mirror episode to me. I'm pretty sure it was a Black Mirror episode where they were preserving the people's consciousness into VR, I think it was. And so like I think everybody got it, but the more you paid for it, the better your experience was. Once your biological body died, your consciousness lived on in this VR state. That's kind of what that sounds like to me. Also, this idea, third state as a means to preserve consciousness before or beyond death. Like, so if we remember back to episode, I don't remember the name of or the number of it, but I just had her on again, Fringe. We just had Fringe on. I think it was episode 700. We had Fringe on. And the first episode she was on, we called it Soul Trappers, I think. And part of that conversation was her discussing what her experience was with these beings or these entities. We don't know how to classify them. By the way, we are going to have Darcy Weir on the show in a couple weeks. I'm recording with him in a couple weeks. He was at the UAP hearings yesterday, and he's going to give us a report from Darcy Weir, talking about what he heard and his thoughts on it, because he flew in from good old Canada to be at the hearings. And we've had Darcy on the show before. We love Darcy. And yeah, so look forward to that. But back on to this. What was I saying? Oh, Fringe, yes. So she talks about these beings, whatever they are, her experiences in seeing them having some kind of technology that is able to suck, supposedly, the soul out of these people, and they're putting them in like these other containers. That's the best way I can say it, okay? I don't know how else to say it. It kind of sounds like this to me. Let me read this again to you. In some futuristic scenarios, scientists could leverage the third state beyond life and death. This is a third state of existence as a means to preserve consciousness beyond death. Like, what? I have it up here. I just read this, or no, I didn't. So the way that I came across this, I had a guy in studio. I think it was this past Saturday. He's going to broadcast in a few weeks. His name's Seth, and he and I were talking about ancient and historical dogmen. So I had a members episode with him. I think it was episode 652, Ancient Dogman is what I called it, something like that. And it was so good. He told me that we only covered like 10% of his information. And so I said, dude, come on down to the studio. He came to the studio. We did, I think it was like 2.5 hours or something like that. And he's like, I covered 75% of what I wanted to talk about today. And there's so much more. So like, great guy. It's going to be an awesome episode. And this scripture verse came up on the episode. And I was just like, whoa, interesting. Let's just put it that way. Interesting. Ezekiel chapter 13, verse 18. And it says, say, thus says the Lord, woe to the women who sew magic bands upon all wrists and make veils for the heads of persons of every stature in the hunt for souls. Will you hunt down souls belonging to my people and keep your own souls alive? What the heck does that mean? But that sounds like somebody making magical technology, alchemical things to hunt for souls. Huh? And I understand that, like, there's definitely metaphysical things, right?
He's actually got a stream on Soul Hunters. We should watch that. This guy's pretty deep in the esoterical stuff and the programs they do undercover, like the Black Rock things.
Metaphorical analogies in the Bible, and I'm almost 100% sure that is the explanation here. It is metaphorical on the idea that it's not that they're hunting down human souls, but they're leading people away from God, and their souls are part of them, and they're being led away from God. Well, what if it's literal? Like, what if it's literal? Like, we're talking about people making magic bands on their wrists and veils for their heads in the hunt for souls. What? That's crazy. Let me look at this chat and see if you guys are saying anything about that.
Yeah.
We got one person says, it's crazy. I like it, Joshua Gallagher. It's crazy to me too. It's crazy to me too. It's crazy.
So I just looked up, at the age of 32, it says. I just looked it up. Alex is 50 years old.
To me too. So like the BioBots, and let me pull this back up here. Where is that at? Yeah. This idea of third state as a means to preserve consciousness beyond death. What if like this technology is sucking out human consciousness and putting it into a third state of existence? I mean, I'm just spitballing here as somebody who doesn't work in a science lab, but it's interesting. What about these UFOs? So I mentioned about the UAP hearings that just were held yesterday. What time we got here? Okay, we're good still. So these UAP hearings, and I've been here. I didn't get a chance to watch the UAP hearings, but I've been seeing clips go around, and maybe we'll go into some of these here in a minute. But we know that as far as I can tell, let me just pull this up here real quick. There we go. As far as I can tell, these UFOs, a very growing common understanding of these things from these whistleblowers and Lou Elizondo and Jeremy Corbell is that there's something beyond traditional understanding of what UFOs are thought to be and this idea that technology is being built and created in another universe or realm of existence, another plane of existence that parallels ours, that these things have a way to open that door and peek on through. Corbell talks about that, and these things sending drones into our realm, and that's what some of these things are that we're seeing, is that they're actually drones. I don't know if it's true. It's just my understanding of what has been said at this point. And what if this biobot aspect of stuff has to do with reverse engineering of these crafts. Like I'm almost certain yesterday talked about that in some way or form. It seems like it comes up all the time. Having possession of these crafts and the reverse engineering nature that we're involved in with these things. What if this biobot stuff is like alien technology, and it is something that we reverse engineered? We're dabbling with things we don't understand, and it could go south. What if the reverse engineered technology that we have from this other realm of existence is, some people say that, aliens are fallen angels. I don't necessarily subscribe to that. But what if it is fallen angel-esque in the realm of, and what you're dealing with is what they're reverse engineering is fallen angel technology from, the Book of Enoch. Maybe, I don't know. These biobots might serve as a self-replicating units, or as self-replicating units that can repair and reproduce indefinitely, potentially serving as a basis for an interstellar probe. So, like, imagine these biobots being used either on crafts that we are reverse engineering to self-heal the craft and keep the craft going forward through space and time, or through one realm to the other. It could be something as simple as that. But what if, like, these biobots themselves become the craft?
Diane, I got Netflix, and it says 12 o'clock. It might mean 12 o'clock your time.
Like, what if if you're going down the woo-woo sci-fi realm of these biobots doing self-replicating and self-repair on, crafts themselves, why can't they just build themselves to be the craft? Now you got yourself zombie biobot spacecraft. What? Like, I just feel like there's an endless potential here of a lot of things to go sideways when it comes to reverse engineering alien technology, if that's what this is. But that's what my gut says it is. They could be sent to distant planets, and due to their adaptive nature, they continuously evolve to suit new environments, sending data back or establishing outposts for future human exploration.
Oh, I feel good to see you, bro.
Interesting.
Well, Diane, that link.
Medical regeneration. These biobots could open the door to medical applications like repairing damaged human tissue or regenerating organs in real time. Some scenarios might explore patches made of biobots applied to injuries or degenerative tissues that repair damage or on the cellular level. I cannot keep going today. My brain is turning off. Potentially curing diseases that were previously untreatable. I think that might be the last time I try to read on this show today, because my eyes cannot keep up. Anywho, so these biobots could open the door to medical applications like repairing damaged human tissue or regenerating organs in real time. I think that sounds kind of cool. Outside the fact that you let a biobot get into the system to regenerate an organ, and all of a sudden you're mutating into a biobot zombie walking down the road. Maybe that's how we get the biobot zombies walking down the road, right? Right now they're in a lab in a petri dish and they're doing funny things underneath a microscope, but all of a sudden they're like, we could do this in real time. We could put this in a little fancy pill, have Tony swallow it, and all of a sudden his intestines that are having issues and he can't stay off the toilet, we're going to fix that for him, and we're going to turn him into a walking zombie. Like maybe. In other news, I had this pulled up. I wasn't even planning on talking about this, but let me just look this up. Have you guys heard about the witches? Have you guys heard about the witches that are upset that their spells are not working on Donald Trump? I have this Reddit post here. It says some other witches have been mentioning that doing spells directly against Trump are not as effective as we might hope, as he seems to have some kind of protection around him. A freezer spell against Project 2025 would likely be useful, but I wouldn't give the Cheeto any more attention. Oh, that's funny. That has a double meaning, actually.
I don't think Papua New Guinea gets many earthquakes, Di. They were protectorate of Australia up until the 70s. I don't know how many earthquakes they get there, but it is very mountainous.
Any more attention right now, he hates to be ignored, right? That's interesting. So yeah, the witches are mad that their spells aren't working. Witches be witches, and they're mad that their spells aren't working against Donald Trump. Some people might say that Donald Trump might have a supernatural protection around him. What I find it funny here is that they say, but I wouldn't give the Cheeto any more attention right now. He hates to be ignored. So they're basically saying the best thing we can do right now is to get at him is to ignore him. So leave him alone.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Especially after you're just saying that you want to cast spells on him. Now you're just saying the best thing we can do is leave him alone. Yeah.
Shawnee, I wonder if RFK Jr. is going to do anything about the GAB.
Interesting. I had another. Don't do that. You gotta mute these things, man. Gotta mute these things. Anyways, listen. What I'm gonna do real quick is I was gonna do some UAP hearing videos and stuff, but we're not going to do that today. We're actually going to save that for when Darcy comes on the show. So what I have for you for the remainder of this weird Thursday episode is a recording that I did with a lady at home at my house. I did this recording, I think it was back in the beginning of October, I think it was. And it was an interesting conversation I had with her. The problem was it's not a full episode. It was only like a 20-minute conversation. And I was like, well, I'll play it for the people on a weird Wednesday, Thursday episode. I think you guys would appreciate it. It's a little off topic from what we were talking about today, but maybe not. Maybe not. Because is it possible? So you guys know about the rake, right? You guys know about the rake. We've talked about it on the show. We call them the crawlers at times. The way they're described is very alien-esque, right? I mean, if you didn't have I don't know if we actually have pictures of it. Probably, I think we do. But let's just err on the side of caution and say we don't know if we have pictures of the crawlers. If somebody just described them to you, you would say, that sounds like an alien to me. That sounds like an alien to me. What if the crawlers are... What if aliens are our future selves, time traveling back in time, and they look like the crawlers to warn us not to take the biobots because that's what they turn in. That's what you'll turn into. There we go. I just tied it to this live. So, anyways, I have this lady Carol coming up here, and she had a.
If he's not going after the jabs, says something sus, Die.
Crawler encounter that I wanted to share with you. So let's get to Carol right now. Today we have Carol on the show from my home studio, my wife's office. How are you, Carol?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Can you guys hear that? Can you guys hear that? I think you could hear it, right? Give me a thumbs up in the chat if you could hear that. Give me a thumbs up in the chat if you guys could hear that. Yeah, you could hear it. All right, cool. Here we go. All right, today we have Carol on the show from my home studio, my wife's office. How are you, Carol?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Darn it. I can't do any production today, guys. I promise you this is going to be for meeting with me and to share your story. Anytime I have a chance to talk to somebody about an experience with the rake, or some people call them crawlers, I'm all ears. And And so what I'd like for you to do is to share with me and the audience how this all unfolded for you. How long ago was this? What were you doing? And maybe even how old you were.
Okay. The year this happened was 2011. During this time, I was in my junior year of high school. It was around fall time. So, it's getting dark early. I grew up in Central California in a really small town called Planada. You have kind of like an idea. It's about an hour away from Fresno. It's next to Merced, California. We're really close to Yosemite National Park. It's about like a 2-hour drive from Yosemite. Specifically, the town where I live at, it doesn't even have a high school. That's how small it is. So we actually have to drive to the next town over that has a high school. The drive from one town to another, if you can imagine, it's just like one small street filled with orchards. So at night, it's just pitch darkness. And, during the daytime, from afar, you can start seeing the mountains that lead up to Yosemite. So it's basically in a valley. On this specific night that I saw this creature that I now know is called a rake, we were picking up our friend from football practice. So it was me and 2 other friends. We were in the parking lot of the high school. The parking lot is the way that we were facing east. And right in front of us, it was like the front lawn of the high school. And right after that, there's like an alley that goes kind of heading towards the back of the school area. So around the time that we were there, it might have been, I want to say maybe 8:30, 9 p.m. at night.
Guys, if you want to know if these rakes they're talking about exist, I'll post this. It's cryptid chemtrails, things caught on chemtrails, and you wouldn't believe the crazy sort of actual monsters caught on chemtrail. I'll post a link.
We were just, chatting in the car, and then we suddenly heard like something landed on the car. Maybe we thought it was like a cat, maybe that jumped on the car, and we even saw leaves fall off from the car because it's like fall time, and we really thought nothing of it. But then about, I want to say maybe a minute afterwards, as we're just looking forward into the alleyway, we see like this being that to us we couldn't even comprehend what it was because it looked like a human, but it was long, maybe like 8 feet long. It looked very bony, so it didn't seem like it really ate. Maybe like it's been starving. It ran like a dog, and its arms were swinging behind its legs when it was running. And as it was running straight down the alleyway, it was looking straight at it. And its eyes were, it really felt like it had no soul. They were like sucked in, and it was just darkness in its eyes. So right after we saw that, we all just looked at each other, and we just finished each other's sentence. Like, did you see that? Like, it was like a dog, but like a human. And we really couldn't figure out what it was. And it was just like silent. It's like our friend got in the car, we drove home, and then it was not talked about afterwards. I think we just froze at that moment. And then when I would try bringing it up to people, they'd be like, oh, maybe it was like someone on drugs. And I was like, no, like that wasn't, I know what a person on drugs looks like and I get what they're saying, but I'm like, there's no human that's naked, glowy white like that. Like it didn't even seem like it had any color in it. It just looked pale white, running at that speed like an animal. And its fingers were very long too. So they almost seemed claw-like. So when we saw that, it really freaked us out. And, my friends, they don't like talking about it. I'm the only one that recently, and I don't watch scary movies either, when I started seeing like those creatures come up like on the internet, and when I saw like I Googled what I saw, and then I saw the name of it, and I was like, that's exactly what I saw. It looked no different from the Google images that I saw like on the first page of Google.
That's wild. Yeah, I was going to ask you about the fingers because I've heard other people describe the fingers being very, very long and almost like claws. And so that's what you saw. And the images that I see online, a lot of times it's like a black and white image, like thermal almost, like a night vision image. And the eyes are glowing. And you said the eyes were completely black, right?
So like it seemed like there you could just see like the pit of the eyes, kind of like when someone draws like a skull, but it did have like a glow of white in the center. But it's not like it had
Gotcha.
pupils. So they did look like they were caved in black, but you would see like a small like glowing white. But other than that, like nothing resembled like a human. I kind of remember if it had like its mouth open while it was looking at us. And it kind of seemed like it had fangs in a way, like all of its teeth were pointy. But it was so fast, and what kind of still freaks me out is thinking, what if that was the thing that jumped on our car, and we didn't realize it, and we just never bothered to look, and it was probably just like sitting outside the car staring at us, and I was like, and why? That's the part that I don't get, why it happened. But what is kind of trippy to me is the fact that that town, it's primarily like Latinos, older Hispanic community, and there are a lot of other stories in that town, specifically in those areas of the orchards where people have said that they've seen like elves, or in Spanish they call them duendes. So they would always tell us as kids, like, don't come home late at night because the duendes you're gonna see the duendes on the four-way stop specifically. But a being like this, I had never heard of. Like since then, I still haven't heard of anyone mention that creature, and I've even tried going on Reddit, seeing like this something come up. But then I think my interest kind of sparked too when I started hearing a little bit more about like a relationship with these creatures and the national parks, because we are so close to the national park. And it hasn't been something where it's very common for people to say that they've seen like UFOs around the area, but they just leave it at that.
Yeah. Well, I tend to feel like just the way you tell the story, I feel like whatever this thing is probably what jumped on your car. I mean, what are the odds that something jumps on your car and then you see this and it's two separate things? Probably not very likely. And now you said that when it was running, it ran like a dog. Can you describe that again for me? Because I had a hard time picturing what you meant by that, where you said it ran like a dog, but I guess the arms went behind the legs or something. What do you mean by that?
It seemed like, when a dog is running full speed, it's almost like when a dog is walking, you see all of the four legs walk separately, I guess. But this was like its back legs would jump, and then its front legs would go behind its back legs. That's just how long its front legs were, that when it was kind of like if it was running at such a high speed that its front legs would just fall behind its back legs every time that it would run, almost like if it was like jumping while it was running. But its arms were extremely long, so they would literally swing behind its back legs. I don't know. It just seemed like if it was to be standing, its arms would probably be like at the length of its knees, probably, like, or long.
So you didn't see it stand on its hind legs, though, right?
No. It was running like on four legs.
If you could envision it on its back legs, would you say that it would have a humanoid shape?
I would say it would, because it almost it was like the ribs that they looked human like. It looked kind of like a human that hasn't eaten in a long time because its belly was just very sucked in. So it was almost like completely bones, but with white, pale skin on it. Like, I would probably describe it kind of like a skeleton, but with skin.
Yep, that sounds just like what I've heard these things being described as. I mean, obviously there's images online, but there's a guy and his wife, JR and Shelly, friends of the show. They came down to my studio one time, and she told her story of seeing something similar to this one night when her car broke down. I think she backed it into a graveyard. I think that's what happened, and she was just waiting in like this little gravel driveway in the beginning of the graveyard, and this thing came into the car, not into the car, but came onto the car, and I forget how the whole story ensues, but from there, but I remember her having that experience, and there was a kid well, yeah, he's a kid. He was 17 when I talked to him. He's probably about 18 or 19 now, but he is in Oregon, I believe. And him and his friend were riding four-wheelers at a campground or in the mountains or somewhere like that. And one of these things came out onto the road on all four when they were on their four-wheelers. They had stopped at one point. There's a lot of things in that situation that led up to that experience that seems like it was connected in a way, where there's weird things happening around them. Obviously, this is a very strange encounter, but outside of the encounter itself and the jumping on the car, do you recall any weird things happening, like, I don't know, like cell phones not working or anything like that?
No, nothing. It was completely off guard. And I don't think there was anything that could have even triggered it. Like if we were, like, for example, like playing with the Ouija board or, watching scary movies that could have made us like hallucinate that we saw that. It was completely random. And like I said, never. Because of that. Because I'm just scared that that thing is still somewhere out there. But I mean, I have looked up like stories about it, but I've never seen any occasion where I guess anyone has ever actually been hurt by something like that. So it kind of makes me wonder, like, isn't it a different dimension? Like, it could see us, but it can't physically do anything to us. I don't know, because you would think something like that would have tried tearing the door open. Or why would it just make itself visible that way? Because if we're facing in that direction, why didn't it just jump in front of the car in that case?
Yeah. Well, maybe they didn't live to tell their story of how it hurt them. So,
How about this?
Yeah.
I know in Shelly's situation, it was a pretty terrifying experience. And I think at one point she passed out and she doesn't know exactly what happened after that. But I think she said it was trying to get in the car.
That's scary.
Yeah, it was a pretty terrifying experience. I might even play it with this episode when I put this out. So, because I'm looking at these images online, and it's a spinning image, what you're describing as to what, and I see one of these images as my images I made for a video I put up. So there it is. That's funny. But I've also heard of them coming into people's homes and coming into their rooms. There was also a guy that I had on the show. Him and his wife pulled into their drive, and I think there's more to the story than what I'm about to share. But him and his wife pulled into their driveway one night, and there was one sitting in their yard looking at their house and sitting in the yard like a dog would. So it's interesting you say about the dog run, because the way he described, at least in my mind's eye,
Wow,
he was
Shawnee.
sitting on his butt and sitting almost like a dog would be sitting
That's a bit creepy, that guy doing that, Shawnee.
in their yard. And so, yeah, there's a stalker element to these kind of things that I don't quite understand or
Like
recognize.
if it was
But
hunting, kind of.
yeah. And so I definitely wouldn't say I would trust them, and I definitely wouldn't be like, oh, let's, like, people say, oh, I just want to cuddle up next to Bigfoot and have him tell me a bedtime story. Not these things. These things, these things are straight up demonic.
Yeah, it felt like that.
They're evil.
It didn't feel like it came from the right place. And I think I didn't even want to tell my parents about it because they're also Hispanic and they would have been like, that's because you talk back to us. That's why that thing came at you guys. Like, and I would be like, no, I'm not gonna hear it because they're gonna say it's this.
Diane, you know how New Zealand and Australia are the test cases to see what they can get away with. New Zealand's a lot worse than us on the left-hand side as well.
My fault that the devil is punishing me because I'm being bad. But yeah, it didn't feel friendly. I think if anything, it gave me kind of like maybe like chupacabra vibes, something like that. Definitely not a friendly dog, but yeah, it was creepy. And I always feel bad because I'm like, there's people out there that are looking for these things, but it's almost like it comes out when you're least expecting it. You're not looking for it when these things come up.
Yeah. I guess my another question I have for you is, looking back at the situation, there was a lot of detail that you saw. Did you ever get a sense that this was something that was not completely physical, in the sense that maybe it was more like?
Shawnee, I've never had a flu vax. Never ever have I had a flu vax.
At least interdimensional or something, or do you think it lives and exists here and it just maybe lives in caves or something?
I do feel like it exists like interdimensionally. Especially because of, like, for example, like most recently, about 2 years ago, I was working in a preschool setting and I was sitting at a table and I had a wall behind me with those boards where the teachers put up like posters or, things for the children. It's like those big cork boards. And I started hearing a noise and I turned around and the nail started unscrewing from the board by itself. And I freaked out thinking it was maybe like a termite inside the wall that was pushing it out. And I screamed and the teacher in the same room, she was like, what? And I was like, the screw is coming out by itself. So she came over looking at me all crazy and when she got to where I was at, the screw started going back into the wall by itself. So it was me and her who saw that at that point. So then we were like, okay, it's probably loose. There's like a termite inside the wall. And when the janitor came back, we asked him like, hey, like this thing is loose. You need to fix it. And he came and he tried pulling the board off of the wall and it was stuck hard onto the wall. And then he told us like these screws are extremely long because we can't have these falling on children. So that was one thing where I was like, how is it that I saw, what was with me physically move, but I couldn't see what was actually moving it. So, I mean, since then,
Gotta fix your glare up,
like there are
guys.
things that just live like within our dimension. And we just don't have the ability to see them. And occasionally, there's just something that aligns perfectly where we're actually able to see them physically. Because I couldn't imagine where that thing would hide in the orchard, since people are working those orchards daily. So where does it go?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I definitely think that these things are probably at the very least interdimensional. But if they are here and they exist here on this plane of existence for any period of time, I imagine I just look at these things and I'm like, they got to be cave dwellers. Like they have to live in the ground. I mean, they're so pale and scrawny.
Yeah.
They don't get a balanced meal.
I
They're probably
agree
pretty
with
hungry.
that. And then what would he eat? There's nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, for him to end up there, and that's why I do think these things it has to be linked something with Yosemite. Yosemite is so huge, and it's so limited as a tourist what you can actually do, or if you're in there, you're within the area that they know you're in, and people go missing all the time, or people pass away all the time in these places.
Maybe they eat 11th graders.
I think they do.
I think you said you were a junior, right?
Yeah.
In 2011.
And I did go because our school is so close to Yosemite, they have like 2 annual camping trips. You take one in 6th grade and you take another one in 11th grade to watch the 6th graders. So yeah, good thing we didn't disappear that day.
Yeah, seriously. Well, listen, I'm glad you hopped on with me to share this encounter. It's not every day I get people talking about their experiences with Rake, and anybody listening to this right now, I mean, if you have an experience, I will be somebody who will hear your experience, because these things are out there. I would love to hear more encounters like these. So feel free to shoot us an email if you're like, oh, nobody would ever believe me. Just talk to me, okay?
Thank you.
These things are definitely out there. So, Carol, I appreciate you coming on and sharing. Do you have any plans to go camping anytime soon?
Honestly, I would.
Yeah.
I don't feel like it's something that I can expect to see again, honestly. And I don't feel like if I'm
Healthy way
that
to-
scared of it, I don't know. I guess because of that experience, I don't know what it can do, but I definitely don't want to let it stop me from doing anything that I would do normally.
That's great. That's a very healthy way to look at it. There's so many people that have experiences out in out in the forest, whether they had a Bigfoot encounter or Dogman or even Rake, right? And they were hunting and they don't hunt anymore because of these experiences. So it's a very healthy way to look at it, and that's the way I feel about the stuff too. I mean, people say, well, what happens if you find one? I'm like, listen, if it was that easy to go out looking for this stuff and finding it, everybody do it. I think the odds are very much against me to have an encounter with this stuff. So it's not going to stop me from going out in the woods, enjoying hiking around and stuff. And if I find one of these creatures,
Yeah.
hopefully my camera's working.
Yeah, I definitely feel blessed that it happened. Because of, like you said, what are the chances of seeing that? And I guess that just, to me, it makes me feel like I must be open enough to be able to experience something like that. But definitely when I hear, for example, like Native Americans saying, oh, when we go to, I think they mentioned like going to Yellowstone or Red Rocks, that they put ashes on their face to protect them from like the little people so they don't mess with them. And in my head, I'm like, okay, noted, I'll put ashes on my face, because I know what they're saying is most likely true, and I'm gonna believe it, and I'm gonna, try to follow the rules and be safe. But also, there's no point in being scared, or I'd say, when it's your time for something to happen to you, it's gonna happen regardless. You can't just run away from it.
All right, that was Carol. All right, there we go. I don't know what's going on with the sound today. I don't know what's going on with all.
Okay, guys, you got another one? Cryptid warfare operations. And guys, these cryptid creatures, they really do exist. Otherwise, I wouldn't be playing this. You watch them links I sent you, you watch them, and you'll see these creatures exist. Otherwise, I wouldn't be showing it. Actually, I might jump into this one first.
Struggling to survive the heat? If you're tired of roasting in stuffy, overheated rooms and don't have an expensive air conditioner, I've got...
He did. He put it on the wrong side, and he talked about it.
Another cat food, well, see.
Some amazing things have been happening over the past few days, my friends. This is Tony. Hope you're all doing well. And we're talking about both good and bad things that have been happening. We're going to get into both. Of course, we had some really hilarious clips over on SNL. We'll get into that. We also had The View responding, and again, more and more meltdowns. We'll get into that. But what's really interesting is something that just happened yesterday in Congress. You're not going to believe. We'll get into that and much more. Also, what we have churches now as well speaking, of course, against trying to go forward in a positive direction in this country. It's absolutely astounding, some of the stuff that's coming out. We are definitely still in the twilight zone. Maybe it's sort of like a reverse positive twilight zone, but it's still there, my friends. Let's start with this here. I thought this is rather interesting. Here is the latest coming out from 47. Check this out, my friends. Let's play a little bit of this.
Writing, math, science, arithmetic, and other truly useful
Yeah.
subjects. Fourth, we will teach students.
He's talking about what they're going to be doing with the schools once he gets in. Obviously, teaching basic subjects, which you shouldn't even have to go here. I mean, it should be obvious. It should be default. Teaching, reading, writing, math, arithmetic. I mean, really? We have to actually lay that out. That's what's so ridiculous about this. No, check this out. It gets better.
To love their country, not to hate their country like they're taught right now. Fifth, we will support.
Did you guys have to do the Pledge of Allegiance whenever you were in school? I know we did.
We did back when I was younger. That was a long time ago, though.
I feel like it kind of,
We didn't do a Pledge of Allegiance. We did sing the national anthem, though.
it fell off a little bit, but I remember, yeah.
Bringing back prayer to our schools. Sixth, we will.
Huge disagree on this one. I don't.
Yeah. He thinks for some reason that you shouldn't have this in school. But the fact is, when you have a vacuum.
The Sasquologist. You are going to have an opportunity. Hey everyone, before we get to this week's show, I want to let you know on October 5th, I am going to be at the Ohio Bigfoot Jamboree. Come on out and meet me. And then on October 6th, we are doing an advanced screening for the movie The Sasquologist. You are going to have an opportunity to see this movie first before anybody else, and also have a Q&A session with the cinematographers. If you want tickets to this event, go ahead and check out the link in the description below.
Merkel Media.
They're not trying to keep us out. They're trying to keep something in. I do not recommend going in that cave alone to anybody.
I thought I saw a crawler, a shadow figure coming out. We're coming around this curve, and I see something poke its head out like that.
I don't know. Doing this paranormal stuff for so long, I don't know what's what anymore. You don't know who you're talking to. You don't know what you're talking to. It could have been anything.
All right, today we have some incredible guests here in studio. We have a full table. The Cryptid Warfare crew, or actually it's the Cryptid Warfare Operations, right? Or should we go with the podcast first? We'll go with the, you can talk now. We're oh, we get to go. Yeah, we're done with it. I'm done with the intro. I told everybody that they had to be quiet while I did that whole spiel. So
what was funny is when you on the intro, I was like, is he reading, dude? He's like doing it. It was on point, man. Focus.
Well, I mean, it's like what, almost 700 episodes. So
I always say, if you don't get it now, come on.
I don't. It seems like when I'm doing it in front of people, I hit it better. But when I'm doing it by myself, I'm like, 10th, 15th, 20th time. It got to the point where I was like, Jack, just go find something else to do. I'll just record this on my own until it gets done, and then I'll send it to you. But no, it's been a wild ride for me over here. But for you guys, Cryptid Warfare started out as a podcast first, and then went to operations.
No, first off, it was actually operations first, and that's like our bread and butter is being out in the field.
Really?
So then we decided to do podcasts.
That's awesome, man. So let's go around the table and introduce ourselves. Everybody.
Diane, if I played that Simpson one, it'd be copyrighted.
I say their name. I teased everybody because I said I forget people's names, so I'm gonna need you to introduce yourself so I remember. But no, but seriously, let's do it so I hear your voices along the name.
My name is T, part of the Cryptid Warfare podcast and
That Homer Goes to Hell is not available in my country, Di.
operations. Good friends of Andrew, our host and or the creator of Cryptid Warfare. So happy to be here and happy to be meeting you for the first time.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm Jessica Jones. I started off as a tag-along with Cryptid Warfare. I'm actually known as the Cryptid Huntress. You guys might have heard one of my shows or something occasionally, but I'm a Bigfoot and cryptid field researcher. I've been doing this since 2011. And like I said, I'm a tag-along and having a good time. We go out and do some pretty awesome boots on the ground field research out there all over the pretty much where we've been, Tennessee and Alabama so far.
So before we move to him, tell people where they can find your stuff, like your show, your social, all that. Plug your stuff away. You should do that too if you want to do too.
I don't even have one.
All right, don't worry about you. Jessica, you're
What
on.
about you, bro?
Yeah, y'all can find me at thecryptidhuntress.com, and I have a YouTube channel that's The Cryptid Huntress.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Drew.
Right on. You are a part of the team. So
I'm a part of the
tag along.
team.
She's part of the team.
I know, I was kidding.
Hey guys, I'm Drewski. Drew. I run the Cryptid Warfare and Conspiracies podcast. Also do CW operations and survival. So yeah, glad to be here, brother.
Yeah, thanks for coming out. This has been a long time coming. We met each other, 2 years ago now?
Yeah,
About that, out in Paris. Tennessee, not France. I mean,
we were on an operation. We were on an op in Paris hunting the werewolf of Paris, the Paris werewolf.
Visa Je vous donne.
Yeah, what she said. We were out there.
Yeah, we geared up. No, but we met each other at a conference, and I think I asked you to come and do your art there because I didn't have any merch at the time. So I was like,
That's right.
I was like, can you come out and just you can have my table and sell your art? So that's where we met each other. You're pretty good at tagging, man, and all that good stuff. You're a good artist. But so Cryptid Warfare Operations is the first thing you started. How did that whole thing come together? I mean, was it like an encounter, or was it an interest, a topical interest? I mean, you have a background in police, I believe, right?
Yeah, law enforcement, stuff like that.
Former military?
Stuff like that, yeah.
Yeah. And your crew of guys that have that background as well. So it's like legit, like on the ground, like mercenaries for Bigfoot.
Hire.
Mercenaries for hire.
Wait, do we get paid?
I wish.
If you got
That's what I'm trying to do with this operations team. I'm trying to build that up. But no, as far as that, like I said, I have like a law enforcement background and fieldcraft and all that stuff too. So what it started out for me was back in Colorado. I used to go basically backpacking with my dad and stuff, and out in the mountains a lot. And he teach me a lot of survival and stuff. And then I really didn't give a hoot about cryptids, but I love monsters for sure. Predator, aliens, all that stuff really got me in that jive. And then reading about Loch Ness Monster and Bigfoot, but it really didn't hit me until I was in law enforcement. So just basically in a quick nutshell, in Colorado, I was a part of a SWAT team for the state of Colorado. And we used to do a lot of warrants, a lot of tracking, a lot of escaped convicts, high custody, VIP, transport, stuff like that. So we used to also train like a lot of people, like kind of like room clearing, stuff like that, range days, all that stuff. So it was just go. What kind of got me into this Bigfoot stuff like that was when we went on operations when we had to go get an escaped convict. So as we're tracking this guy in the middle of the Rocky Mountains, we're running the diamond formation team. You got your tracker in the front, you got your medic in the middle, and you got all your operators on the right side holding up weapons and stuff like that. So they dropped us off on one area, another team. All together, there's probably about a good like 5 different teams, different alphabet agencies, state of Colorado, Fed, stuff like that. So as we're tracking this guy, he's in the middle of the mountains. We have an idea on where he's at. And as we're walking our way towards him, this is about, I say it's almost hitting like dusk. So as we're going, got our nods on top, we're just walking, and we're hearing 2 things pace us in the middle of the mountain. So, what the frick is that? I'm not saying anything because I don't want to be the cuckoo guy. But I'm hearing it off my left because I'm on my left, the diamond formation like that, just scanning everything on my left. Got my guy on the right. He's like, hey, do me a favor. He's on comms. He's like, hey, let's just stop on 3. Everyone just stop walking. 3, 2, 1, stop. We stop. And we hear these 2 things on both sides of us. Take 2 extra steps and they stop. And we're like, So we're trying to get a read on it. Nothing. We're not seeing anything, but we're hearing it. So we're like, all right. The guy on the tracking team, good old mountain boy, is like, don't worry about that. Let's just keep moving. We're like, what the freak, don't worry about that. We need to know what's over there. We're like, whatever. So we just keep going. But as we're scanning, we have our weapons up towards the left, towards the right, towards the rear. We're just going. They finally catch the guy. We walk him on the way down. We get up there, hand him over, go back to the precinct, stay, turn our weapons in, do our report, and Thriller Alphabet Agency come.
Phil, I just checked out your channel, And it says you haven't put anything up for 4 weeks. So I don't know what's going on, mate, but it's not loading. Your videos aren't loading.
Up is like, hey, here's what you guys write. Da, 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 da.
But then sometimes they do, and I give you a thumbs up. So I don't know what's going on.
I thought you guys wanted us to write who, what, when, where, why, and how. And they're like, don't worry about that. Here's what you guys should write. Da, da, da. All right, whatever. So Captain's like, do it. All right, roger that. Read out the report. Didn't think anything of it. So I dove head first into what the freak is out there, right? So I started digging up on a mountain area called Wetmore, San Isabel, Pikes Peak, stuff like that. It just opened up the floodgates for me on cryptids, Bigfoot, Dogman, Skinwalkers, stuff like that. So that's how I got into Head Heels over it. And then how I got into the...
Phil, check this out, mate. Check that one there. You haven't been live for 4 weeks. You haven't been live for 4 weeks, mate, so I don't know what's going on.
Conspiracy part of it was when this is back in 2012. Big old 2012, guys, when we all thought the world was going to end, right?
December 25th.
Yeah.
Or was it? No, it was December 25th, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 2012. Yeah.
I remember my dad said, he thought that ain't nothing, you know, the Aztecs just ran out of tablet is all it was. All right, cool. So anyway, so we had to, this is when I was doing VP protection on
Yep, that loaded, Phil.
SWAT team. We had to escort a guy who was the head of a certain thing to the Denver International Airport to meet the governor of Colorado. So we go there. I'm not driving. I'm just chilling on the left side. We're just chilling. We're basically just babysitters for hire, right? With weapons is all we are. So we get there.
That's what they thought about the Pennsylvania too.
Yeah, so we get there and we go on the back way. They let us in. I'm like, what the frick are we doing, you know? And then all of a sudden we hit this tunnel. We just keep going. What is this? Just tunnels everywhere, vehicles moving everywhere.
Under the airport.
Under the airport. Okay.
Oh, did you see Lucifer?
Oh yeah, we saw Lucifer, the big old horse with the red eyes.
That's not weird at all.
I'll show you.
Yeah, you have to show me.
I'll show you. Yeah, so that's basically in the front of the Denver International Airport was Lucifer, right? So we, past that, go underneath there, just meandering, passing vehicles, stuff like that. And they got like these little totes and stuff driving by. So we end up at this dead end, these double doors open, military police walk out, got the governor, stuff like that. We get out, escort them. They told us, you guys got to stay right here. Okay, we'll just chill out, roger that, we'll just hang out. They let him in. They just take off to do whatever they need to do as a meeting. So we're standing there for like a good hour and a half, just chilling. So we're just shooting the crap with the MPs, right? Just talking about football, Avalanche, Broncos, stuff like that, weapons, all that whatnot. Doors open again, kind of peek my head in. I see a railway.
Aliens? No.
Okay.
Oh, man.
Guys, I can say that my last name is, don't worry about it. Anyways, yeah. So, so all I see is a railway, right? And then on the other side of that are boxes and stuff. And I'm just nonchalant, I'm like, hey, man, what the heck they had that on? And he's like, oh, man, they had this around here forever, This is how we transport stuff without the public knowing. I was like, so the dude comes out from the meeting. He's pissed off. He's like, let's go. So we go, get in the vehicles, drive out, go back to CO Springs, drop him off, turn my gear in. I go home. So I start digging on some stuff. One of my buddies works for the DOD. He sent me a blueprint of 2009 of the railways underneath the United States. So the one that we saw underneath the Denver International Airport goes from there to NORAD, and from NORAD to Pueblo, Colorado, then from that to the Area 51, Nevada, all that stuff. It looks like a spider web, but that was just the blueprints of it, the tunnels they had, and they go, and it only shows half of the United States, and they keep going out towards Washington. So Dulce Base, stuff like that. I'll send you that picture.
Do you still have it?
I still got it.
Yes, definitely send it to us. You don't have to do it right now. I want you to focus in here, but
anyways, what was real quick to wrap this up? What was the trip was after that, in March 19th, 2013, okay, that person we escorted got murdered.
The governor? Wait,
No.
Who? I thought you were escorting the governor.
No. We weren't escorting the governor. We're escorting a certain person to meet the governor.
Gotcha.
We
Under
had
the
to meet
ground.
Under the ground.
Crazy. All
And
right.
he came out pissed off, all that. Well, a year or two later, about like a year and a half later, he got murdered after. And it was a big pursuit and stuff like that. They finally found the guy and they shot him down in Texas. So that's all I'm saying about that. I still got buddies who work there and stuff. So that's all I'm saying. But yes, but I will send you the blueprints and everything like that. So.
All right, so I have heard about the tunnel systems and the railways and stuff, and I've seen things online, and I'm just like, how do they know? So you're saying the person that gave you the blueprints that you saw was from DOD?
Yes, he don't work there no more, but he does. He did at the time.
Wow.
Yeah, but this is just like a rough draft you found like here. This don't mean nothing. So
because it was old.
Old, yeah.
Wow. So do you think it's more like sophisticated? At this
Oh,
point?
100%, dude. Well, it was a trip though, because at the same time I was there, I was actually coaching a high school soccer team, right? One of the kids that graduated, I caught up with, he was a part of the drilling team. He's like, I don't know why the freak we're drilling tunnels. Why the hell we need tunnels going through underneath Colorado? This is stupid. But I'm getting paid good.
Ask no questions.
Is what it is.
Yeah.
And it kind of like brought everything together. I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, there's way more to this than I thought.
Wow. So officially, you have been under the Denver Airport.
10-4.
You've seen the tunnels,
Mhm.
and it was because you were escorting
a certain person,
a high level security risk type person.
Mhm.
Wow. You're not lying to me.
Negative.
Right?
That's exciting. What do you guys think about this stuff? I mean, this is a whole story for you?
Yeah, 2000, what was that, 2012?
Yeah.
13? Yeah, I was in high school, so I wasn't really doing cool stuff.
Young guy.
Yeah, I wasn't doing anything cool like that. Yeah, that's wild.
Wow.
Yeah. No, I've been looking into Lucifer lately. Somebody gave me
Oh,
that.
that picture I sent you?
Yeah, no, somebody gave me that as a blind coordinate remote viewing target.
Yeah.
Actually, Arkeem Ra did. And so I did a show on that at Space Out Radio back then when I was in Space Out Radio. And it was pretty interesting. I mean, I was just at the Denver airport. I was told I was at the wrong Denver airport. Apparently there's two, because I was looking all over for like an Illuminati.
now we're talking
Did you
about
see all those
pictures.
collages and stuff?
Yeah,
Like
I
all
was
the
looking for
paintings?
them.
I
couldn't
have heard there's
find
two.
them.
There's a big one and there's like a small one. Most people come into the smaller side or something.
Oh yeah, because at the Denver National Airport, you had your big one, and then you got your satellite one right next to it.
Yeah, I was at a big one, but I couldn't find. I was looking for a doorway to the underground tunnels of the Illuminati. But I
It's
couldn't find
probably
it.
just an
Yeah.
office door to just, maintenance or something like
It's
that.
probably a Starbucks or something.
Yeah. Yeah, pull the machine.
Maybe the Frappuccino.
Yeah, the Starbucks down there. It's like
Secret
the
handshake.
logo is like, oh, you don't have to squint one eye to see it. It's like, oh no, it's really a Baphomet. It's right there, Baphomet.
Yeah, right there.
The logo.
Yeah, give me the Lucifer Frappuccino. Gotcha.
So with that introduction to this world, right? So being paced in the woods, Denver International Airport, being underground and stuff, you kind of got into looking into the conspiracy side of things.
Yeah, that, and then in 2014 is when I moved from Colorado here to Tennessee. This is when I put my 2 months in to quit, right, to move here. I had a meeting with one of my LTs, and he was pissed because I was a part of a SWAT unit, and then they had a separate unit called like the Go to Hell team. So it's if crap hits the fan, you're paged up, and you and a couple guys, probably 15 to 10 guys all over the state of Colorado get up, and you have to escort these certain people to underneath this if crap hits the fan.
Oh, that's like
And your families, yes, and your families are good to go too. You got to sign like an agreement and stuff like that.
And you were part of that?
Well, I was like a PTM member. It's like potential team member, a PTM guy. So I was kind of like going through like a trial period, and then I put my resignation in to leave, and my lieutenant was pissed. He's like, all that effing training down the tube. So I kind of left on a bad note.
Why'd you leave?
I guess we'll go there. It's going to testimony time, guys. No.
Yeah.
So basically, in a nutshell, my marriage was falling apart, and my relationship with God was down the tube. So my job was my God. And then basically my wife left for a little while. She actually went here to Tennessee to stay with family.
Mm.
Well, she gave me an ultimatum like, hey,
Yeah.
I need you just to think about what you want to do. And then when we come back, then you can make your decision. So God definitely got a hold of me on that. And you know, when she came back, I was like, let's make this work. Let's do this. I don't care, but I have to leave here in order for us to make this work. That way I can get my relationship with you right, my relationship.
Let's hope they leave, Diane. And RFK's got a better chance.
My relationship with God right. And yeah, she's like, all right, well, we got options. We can go to Texas, Arkansas, or Tennessee. I'm like, let's check out Tennessee. So we went to Tennessee. My wife was already plugged into church.
Okay, guys, I'm not really feeling this one. I might change. Hang on, let me load something up.
Church. And this is how we get on the Bigfoot stuff. Well, I was already plugged into a church at the time there.
Oh, I know which one.
She talked to a couple of people there about our situation, so they were praying for us and stuff like that. So when we got there, a guy at the head of the security team named Cameron, shout out to you, buddy, love you, man. He was a Bigfoot researcher.
Yeah, that's fine. Yep.
The world has changed dramatically, and Israel is at the
It's only 12 hours old, guys, so it's pretty recent.
center of it. Conversation we're about to have is going to open your eyes to that very important fact. All right, everybody, let's get into this. I have to tell you, I am super excited because you already know my friend Olivier Melnick. You know the kind of blessing that he has been to us over the years. And I just want to jump right into the subject matter because there is a lot going on in the current moment. We are literally watching Zechariah 12 come to life. It's absolutely amazing. And for those of you that don't know what Zechariah chapter 12 says, I'm going to go ahead and read that to you guys so that you have it. I think it's important to keep in mind what's being said here. Zechariah chapter 12, verse 1, it says, the burden of the word of the Lord for Israel, saith the Lord, which stretches forth the heavens and layeth the foundation of the earth, and formeth the spirit of man within him. Behold, I will make Jerusalem a cup of trembling unto all the people round about, when they shall be in the siege both against Judah and against Jerusalem. Now here's the key. Watch this, folks. And in that day will I make Jerusalem a burdensome stone for all people. All that burden themselves with it shall be cut in pieces, though all the people of the earth be gathered together against it. And boy, are we watching end times anti-Semitism on the increase, which is why I think it's important to have a conversation with Olivier. First of all, Olivier, how are you doing? Let everybody know a little bit about your ministry so that they know what you represent, what you're doing. You're doing a great job. Your YouTube channel is growing. I think there is a lot of people that are hungry to find out the truth. So let's start with that, and then we'll get into some of the big issues happening.
Okay, well, James, thanks for having me on the show. You know, you and I were at a conference a couple of days ago in California. We had a wonderful time of ministering to a lot of people who are interested in end times in Israel. And I just, you know, I was with an organization that I'm still very friendly with, Chosen People Ministries. But this last February, started my own ministry, Shalom and Messiah. And it has been an incredible adventure of being able to reach out to the Jewish community in ways that I did not know were possible for us, and also to continue to educate the Christian, the remnant Christians who really are interested, and that number is dwindling. Evangelicals are less and less interested in Israel, but our ministry, Shalom and Messiah, is a great opportunity for people to connect with us if they want to know the truth about Israel, the truth about end times, and more importantly, how they can use that truth and reach out to their Jewish friends to share the gospel of Jesus, of Yeshua, with them, which is, at the end of the day, it's the most important part.
Well, this is kind of a scary thing, because when you think about this, if the devil wants to get rid of what we see happening in the end times, if he wants to get rid of the church, if he wants to destroy the promises of God in the church, then he has to get rid of Israel. And this is exactly what he's doing. This is the effect of what he's doing. Listen, our salvation was given to us by Israel. It was through Israel that we have the promise that we have right now, that one day we will be in heaven with our Lord.
Exactly.
So this is a real problem, and we're seeing it happening everywhere. Why should the Christian be hyper aware of this? Why should the Christian be sensitive? And I know our watchers hear this all the time, but it's always good to hear another perspective, because you have a very remarkable story, and we have hundreds of thousands of new people that watch this channel, brand new for the first time every single month. And I want them to know a little bit about your background, because you take this to heart. You have familial ties to this. This is a big deal. Can you talk about that for a second, and then we'll talk about what's actually happening?
Yes. Okay. So I'm from France. I was born in a Jewish family in France, born in 1959. Lived my whole life in the same house in the east suburb of Paris, within walking distance, by the way, of the kosher supermarket that was attacked in 2015 under Obama. I Am Charlie, January 2015. So I was in that store many times. So I grew up in France, and my parents, during the war, lived in that house. My mother was a young girl; she was not married at the time, and she lived with her mom and dad. And her father, Maurice Wansweig, was in the house. He was legally in France from Russia, but he had not received yet the equivalent of what we would call a green card in America. But he was there legally, so he was waiting for his papers. And the war, it was 1942. The war was, full force, and he was hiding in the cellar of the house in where my mother lived with her mother. And the Gestapo came one night and said, "We know your husband is in the building. He has to come with us." And she pretended that she didn't know what they were talking about. They left. They said, "We're coming back. If tomorrow he's not coming with us, we take you and your daughter." So she told her husband they're coming back. He first said, "I'll leave, find a safe place for us, and I'll get somebody to come get you when it's safe." And he said, "Well, if you don't show up tomorrow, they're taking Evelyn, my mother, and I." So he said, "I'll go with them and come back." The next morning, the Gestapo showed up. He went with the Gestapo. They took him, put him on a train, sent him to Auschwitz. He never came back. And my mother immediately was sent to the southwest of France in the free zone, and she was hidden on a farm. And her story is on my YouTube channel, from the French TV that did a segment on her in 2013, when the family that hid her on a farm became righteous among the nations at Yad Vashem. So my mother was protected by this family of farmers for the last 2 years of the war, and came back to the same house that we lived in. And my mother lived to be 92, and I got her to accept the Lord at the end of her life. Praise God for that. But our entire life, she never stepped once downstairs, a very old building, 600-year-old building. She never stepped downstairs in that cellar, in the part of the building where her father was hiding. She could not see. She could not get the strength to go down one step, a few stairs, to go to that storage unit that become where he was hiding, because it reminded her when she was 16. That's where her father was hiding and was taken by the Gestapo. Our entire life, she sent me, she sent my sister, she sent my dad. She never went downstairs. She was scarred for life because of what happened. And the crazy thing is that the man upstairs who worked for the French police gave away my grandfather.
Oh, good. That's the prelim fight start. Thank you.
In love with my grandmother, and he thought,
I've still got another hour here yet.
The wife. So he gave away the Jew. And we have stories after stories after stories like this. And this was 1942, and here we are in 2024, and I
better not be a tranny female in the ring. Yeah, I won't do that joke.
See people not coming to the rescue of Jews. I see the police not doing anything. What we just saw, James, you and I were at the conference. I had to change my message on Saturday that I was presenting because of the current events and what was happening in Amsterdam. Yeah. I mean, this is 2024. And it looked like, like John Holler was one of the speakers, said, I met him and he said, "Olivier, I went to bed in 2024. I woke up in 1938.
Yeah. Yeah.
This was the weekend, by the way, the commemoration of the 86th anniversary of Kristallnacht was this weekend.
Yeah. This is an interesting thing, because you told me about what John told you. And I said that I would respond to that while we were on the air. this is going to sound very controversial when I say this to some people, but you have to bear with me when I say this. I think this is way worse than 1938. And I'll tell you why I think it's way worse than 1938. When John says, I went to sleep in 2024 and I woke up in 1938, he's talking about right before the cusp, right before the apex of Nazi Germany, when all of the Jews started being taken away and murdered in mass amounts. I look at what's going on right now, and I think it's far worse because the awareness of what was happening in the United States of America was very mitigated by the lack of capability of seeing things in multimedia. They would get news months after the fact, and what the news that they got was limited to a few pictures and maybe a few commentators, and there wasn't much going on. But today, in 2024, we are watching all of this stuff happen in front of us the moment it's happening. People are looking at these kids running around going, "Free Palestine," wearing these keffiyehs. They don't even know what the keffiyeh means. You're seeing these people beginning to make these seriously anti-Semitic statements. You're looking at, forget soft anti-Semitism, you're seeing some of the most harsh anti-Semitism we've seen in world history in some cases. Yeah, we're looking at things happening right now that are unbelievable. And if this same mindset existed in 1938, the Jews would have been exterminated a lot sooner and a lot faster. And the thing that I'm looking at right now is that this is a situation where it almost appears as though the general public is being brainwashed into a mechanism of normalcy that accepts what's going on. I'll give you an example of this. I was speaking to a next door neighbor as I'm walking the dog who is talking about how they're about to pull their kid from public school. Now, this is a man who's not a Jewish man. This is a man who has, I want to say, Western European roots. Okay, maybe second or third generation into this country. He's a very hardworking man. He's a businessman. And he comes home to his daughter coming back from school and asking her father about why Jews are such bad people. And he asked the question, where in the world did you hear that from? Well, my teacher was talking about it in school, how bad the Jewish people are. And I just wanted to know, why are they so bad, Dad? And the dad said, your teacher basically is a devil. You don't listen to what your teacher said. I'll tell your teacher she's wrong. And now they're looking at the possibility of homeschooling their daughter, because forget the whole trans ideology, forget all that stuff. That's all happening, the drag queens in the schools and all that other nonsense. But now they're beginning to educate people and institutionalize anti-Semitism to a level of normalcy that even makes it sound and feel honorable. That's where it's going right now, Olivier.
That is what it's going. And actually, I speak of this in details, and I don't know if I sent you a copy of my book, The Normalization of Anti-Semitism.
That's your new one, right? I don't think I got that one.
That's you don't have this one?
Oh, I do have that one. Yes, yeah. I do.
Yeah. The Normalization of Anti-Semitism. And, I speak of this where it's becoming expected. It's becoming, and actually I will go one step further. And then I want to come back to what you said about it's getting worse, because I have another thought on that. But it's going a step further. I think that right now, since October 7th, since the beast has been released out of the box, and by the way, it's not going back in. It's just going to continue spreading. But it now appears to be where anti-Semitism has become trendy.
Yes.
I know it sounds crazy. It sounds crazy. It's become trendy.
Yes.
I want to be anti-Semitic. It's cool now.
Yep. 100% true.
And to be at that level, I never expected we would get there. Now, to respond to what you said about it's worse, I agree with you. It's worse because of the way communication is moving, and the way everybody sees everything instantly, and we have the technology to do a lot more damage. But there is one aspect that is actually better than that makes it not as bad as the 1930s, is that now we have Israel.
Yes. Look,
that is the reason why Israel must exist.
No, look, make no mistake about it. The safest place for a Jew to be alive right now is in the state of Israel, in the country of Israel. And that is a sad statement.
Fighting a war on seven fronts.
Yeah. That's a sad statement to make on one end, but it's also a very encouraging statement in that God is doing what he promised that he would do. And so I do think that aspect of it is undoubtedly better. But the problem that I'm having with what I'm seeing is, as you said, the normalization of this deep-rooted hatred. And by the way, I want to make myself clear. I am beginning to, and I don't know if you've heard me say this, but I'm beginning to remove anti-Semitism out of my vocabulary. I actually think that even the word anti-Semitism comes from a Jew hatred place. Because what's happening is with the term anti-Semitism, they are equating Jews with all Semites, for lack of a better term. And
Yes,
that,
but
and-
anti-Semitism never goes after the Arabs.
yeah, that's right. That's the thing. That's what I think is really, really funny. So it purports to sound objective, when in reality, let's just call it what it is. It's Jew hatred. And I think that it's a harder term to use. It's a term that doesn't really, come off the tongue, but it should be something that should feel and sound abrasive, because this is something that I believe the devil is good at. When the devil wants something to become normalized, the way he does it is he allows the Overton window to be pushed. And the more you use the term, then the more acceptable the term becomes, because it doesn't have the same kind of sting that it used to. This is the warning that Dennis Prager issued 25 plus years ago. Dennis Prager 25 years ago used to tell all of his fellow Jews, whatever you do, be slow to use the term anti-Semitism. And whatever you do, don't throw around the word Nazi all the time. Because if you do that, then what will happen is the bent.
This is a secret of the used car market, but many people still don't know it. This groundbreaking car spray will make your car look brand new without costing a fortune.
Or the desire to minimize what is normally valued with that is going to be effective, and no longer does it mean anything. And look, you got it. They actually had the nerve to look at what happened at Madison Square Garden with the President of the United States and call that a Nazi gathering, associate it with a Nazi gathering. I look at that and I just realize this is what the Overton window has become. It's become something where they have basically made this mechanism of Nazism be a symbol of what they disagree with, and they minimize the thing that it actually really truly represented. So now when you call somebody a Nazi, you're calling somebody a Nazi, in very likely somebody who would actually defend the Jews. It's weird what's happened. It's getting dark.
Okay, guys, it's all going to be about the Jews getting persecuted. We sort of know that's going on. Trying to mix it up a bit.
August 3rd, 1984. Welcome to the Prophecy Club. Our topic today is this plot I'm about to discuss going to force Trump to start the internal revolution? And this is a really big thing, because as you recall, August 3rd, 1984, the angel Gabriel visited Dmitry Duduman and told him, this is important, okay? Everybody's wondering, I get several emails on this. Is this going to be the internal revolution? So he was told the following America will start with an internal revolution in America. We got that point. Here's the question. Started by the communists. What's going to start it? Started by the communists. Some of the people will start fighting against the government. Now, what's unclear about that?
Okay, we've heard this one about 1,000 times, Stan.
The President of the Security Council, as well as the President of the General Assembly. The letter was co-signed by 52 different countries and delivered to the Secretary General, the President of the Security Council, as well as the President of the General Assembly. The letter collectively calls for immediate steps to be taken to halt the arms and munitions transfers to Israel wherever there are reasonable grounds that those weapons are being used in the occupied Palestinian territories. Now, the letter was signed by a broad cross-section of countries. To give you an example, Norway, South Africa, Qatar, Russia, Vietnam, just to name a few. But it is Turkey who is leading the effort.
We cannot stress enough that the staggering civilian toll, predominantly affecting women and children, resulting from ongoing breaches of international humanitarian and human rights law, is both unacceptable and intolerable.
As we all know, the ICJ said that this illegal occupation has to be terminated as quickly as possible. The General Assembly said that means in 12 months. So if we want to end this occupation, then therefore countries should not be given the tools to extend the life of this
Maybe you shouldn't be invading Israel then.
illegal occupation.
This letter is less about pressuring Israel and more about pressuring the countries that still send weapons to Israel to stop. There's a broad consensus now that stopping Israel's war on Gaza also means cutting off the arms to the country doing the killing.
Today, there are multiple international aid agencies that say that Israel has failed to address the concerns and that the situation is even more dire than a month ago. Does the administration think that Israel has taken enough steps, or do you agree with these aid organizations and their assessments?
Israel has taken steps to address the measures laid out in that letter from the two Secretaries Blinken and also Austin.
Last month, the U.S. the U.S. State Department, I should say, threatened to withhold military support for the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, if the Israeli government failed to improve the humanitarian crisis that's currently ongoing in the Gaza Strip. Now, they were given 30 days to do so. Unsurprisingly, Israel has failed to meet the benchmarks that the U.S. laid out. And even more predictably, the U.S. announced that it's not going to punish Israel for failing to meet those benchmarks at all.
To make a great deal, you need two willing participants. We know Israel is willing to deal. Israel has been trying to sit down at the negotiating table without preconditions for years. You had Camp David in 2000, where Prime Minister Barak made an incredible offer, maybe even too generous. Arafat rejected it. In 2008, Prime Minister Omer made an equally generous offer. The Palestinian Authority rejected it also. Then John Kerry tried to come up with a framework, and Abbas didn't even respond, not even to the Secretary of State of the United States of America. They didn't even respond.
And we know this to be true. Remember that peace plan proposal Jared Kushner was working on? We looked into it way back then. Israel gave up so much, even part of Jerusalem, and Mahmoud Abbas refused. Why? Many have looked at Psalms 83 as prophetic. Some believed it was fulfilled in 1948, and some are looking at it to be fulfilled soon. Nonetheless, we can see that these groups of people listed just want Israel wiped off the map, period. We know based upon scripture, it will get worse with this conflict involving Israel. And this brings me to this next point, that there are innocent folks out there on both sides caught in the middle. Look at this and read the subtitles.
Wow.
بنشوف ابن القحبه الصنوار الله يحرق عليه طلع ايش عمل فيه لا انا ما بحبش المباراة. سنلعب بدي اروح انا خلص سنلعب. شو القصة؟ انتوا كنتوا فرحانين 17 شو صار؟ ايش شو صار؟ زي ما انت شايف زي ما انت عملتوا فينا بغيتونا.
Hey Susan, good to see you.
אخוך לשמוע, פשוט נותנים להם לדבר. והם מדברים בכל אחים. כבר לא חוששים, לא מבקשים לטשטש פנים וזהות. ייתכן שזה מעיד על היחלשות חמאס, ייתכן שזו דווקא עדות לייאוש שלהם, לתחושה שאין להם מה להפסיד. כנראה שמדובר בשילוב של השניים. אבל למרות הכל, אנחנו בחרנו לטשטש את פניהם של אלו ששברו את מחסום הפחד.
شفنا الآن سنة وشهر من بداية الحرب كيف ما شفنا أي قوة داخلية محلية اللي بتطلع على حساب حماس.
ما بنقدر.
ليش؟
ما بنقدر، حماس مستخدم القوة في كل مكان. لسه. لا ما زالت، يعني أنا مثلا بدي أهتف ضد حماس.
Oh, hang on. I'm going to press that. Okay.
بدي أهتف ضد حماس، يلعن معكم حماس. بهتف بس بعد شوي
ايش مصلحينه بتخوه؟
ما بيجرى، ما بعرف ايش اللي بيجرى لي، فبالتالي عشان انا احافظ على حياتي بضلني ساكت.
كيف انت مش خايف من حماس؟ كيف مش خايف تحكي اللي بتحكي؟
انا حاليا مش خايف من حماس لانه حماس تقريبا مش زي قبل. يعني حماس اول الحرب مش زي حماس اليوم احنا من الحرب سنة وشهر.
ضعفة؟
ايه؟
ضعفة؟
تقريبا.
Look at the people. These are souls out there. These Jews and Gentiles in this conflict. Some may even ask, where is God? In some, where is Jesus? Their faith challenged. But they can't get to God except through Jesus. This is part of the reason why the book of Revelation starts off by noting that what's coming is the revelation of Jesus Christ. It has to be revealed to them, because right now they don't believe, nor why he died, which is to pay our sin debt. Folks get sidetracked on all of this and forget why it is even happening and why the judgments are coming for Israel and the rest of the world.
Yep.
But we know we are watching prophecy being fulfilled. Israel will lose more support and somehow by even the U.S. So being alone, Israel will call upon the name of the Lord. And in the midst of this, they are going to want that third temple and willing to make a covenant with many to do it. For believers, fear not, yet we have work to do. Jesus shared this word that as we watch, as he says in verse 37, we are not sleeping, but we are sharing the gospel. And salvation through Jesus Christ prepares the soul for that day of redemption. The Lord is coming for a harvest, and I want you to be there with the Lord when he appears. We are looking for that blessed hope and the glorious appearing of the great God and our Savior, Jesus Christ. Tomorrow isn't promised to any of us. James 4:14 says, whereas you know not what shall be on the morrow, for what is your life? It is even a vapor that appears for a little time and then vanishes away. What we're seeing around us is a falling world due to sin and iniquity. All through Scripture, we see the plea to turn from wickedness and accept the love of the truth in Jesus Christ, that he died on that cross in our stead. He paid the debt of sin that every person owes. After his death, he was buried, and on that third day, God raised him up as proof to the world that he is the Son of God and that God did certainly send him. It's proof that God takes sin seriously and there is a penalty. It's also proof that he made a provision for us should we accept it. It is a gift of God. Ephesians chapter 2. Let's pick it up at verse 7. That in the ages to come, he might show the exceeding riches of his grace in his kindness toward us through Christ Jesus. For by grace are you saved through faith, and that not of yourselves, it is the gift of God, not of works, lest any man should boast. For some of us, we don't see the need for the Savior until we need the Savior. We don't need saving until we need saving. We don't need Jesus till we need Jesus. Why does it even need to come to that? I know sometimes it does. For those that come to the Lord, we've all been there. So just come as you are. My favorite passage of scripture right here in Titus chapter 3, right here. For we ourselves also were sometimes foolish, disobedient, deceived, serving diverse lusts and pleasures, living in malice and envy, hateful and hating one another. We're a mess. But watch this. But after that, the kindness and love of God, our Savior, toward man appeared. See that? God loves us so much, he sent us a Savior. Not by works of righteousness which we have done, but according to his mercy, he saved us by the washing of regeneration and renewing of the Holy Ghost, which he shed on us abundantly through Jesus Christ, our Savior. Jesus Christ, our Savior. Man has an opportunity to be forgiven of sin by an act of a Savior sent by God. That being justified by his grace, we should be made heirs according to the hope of eternal life. Believe on Jesus. If you want to be saved, trust him in your heart. Romans 10, 9 and 10. That if you shall confess with your mouth the Lord Jesus, and shall believe in your heart that God has raised him from the dead, you will be saved. For with the heart man believes unto righteousness, and with the mouth confession is made unto salvation. Salvation is indeed a gift of love, a gift of God. Receive the gift. All right, I will leave it right there till we meet again. Live holy before the Lord. Love y'all. Shalom.
We're changing insurance for the better. Switch to Bank Australia Insurance.
And everybody has an opinion about it. Newly elected President Trump has announced that he is going to bring prayer back to schools. This is wild news, and everybody has an opinion about it, especially the left. The left are absolutely losing their minds over this. And should they be? Should they be rejoicing with the rest of us, or are they right? Are they onto something? Is this actually a bigger problem than even conservatives or Christians might be willing to admit? Let's talk about it. Let's first watch President Trump and his announcement to bring prayer back to schools. Pretty wild.
Here are 10 key ideas that will power our movement for great schools. First, we will respect the right of parents to control the education of their children. Second, we will empower parents and local school boards to hire and reward great principals and teachers, and also to fire the poor ones, the one whose performance is unsatisfactory. They will be fired. Like on The Apprentice, you're fired. Third, we will ensure.
I agree. That's funny.
Love or hate the guy, he's pretty funny.
Yep.
That is straight up comedy right there. So I'm looking forward to some more humor from the White House.
It's a shocker, isn't it, Shorty?
Classrooms are focused not on political.
I think Trump uses the same hairdresser.
indoctrination, but on teaching the knowledge and skills needed to succeed. Reading, writing, math, science, arithmetic, and other truly useful subjects. Fourth, we will teach students to.
The whole thing about political indoctrination, if I can just say this, because I do want to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments. Maybe you have a child, or you know somebody, or you personally in the school system, you felt like you were not able to actually speak up about what you believe from a political perspective, or from, you know, not agreeing with all the woke agendas all over the place. I've seen examples of students who have felt like they were really being bullied by their teachers or by their peers because they thought differently, because they had a different perspective, especially in the universities. But if you have a personal experience of how you felt, or maybe not just felt, but you have witnessed firsthand, you've seen it firsthand, you've been the victim firsthand of not being able to freely share your perspective because it differs from this massive zeitgeist agenda that's been indoctrinating the entire West. Let me know in the comments if you had a situation like that. Very encouraging to see, though, that schools are coming back to the simple subjects that are necessary to be a functioning member in society, and no longer will schools be these political agenda-based indoctrination camps, which they've been for too long.
Who love their country, not.
I think it's too late for that. The left has taken over so much. It's going to take a lot to oust them out of the education system.
To hate their country like they're taught right now. Fifth, we will support bringing back prayer to our schools. Sixth, we will achieve schools that are safe, secure, and drug-free, with immediate expulsion for any student who harms a teacher or another student.
Ooh.
Seventh, we will give all parents the right to choose another school for their children if they want, school choice. Eighth, we will ensure students have access to project-based learning.
You'd think that'd be a common right already, wouldn't you? Being able to send your kids to the school you want to send them to.
Experiences inside the classroom to help train them for meaningful work outside the classroom. Ninth, we will strive to give all students access to internships and work experiences that can set them on a path to their first job. They're going to be very, very successful. I want them to be more successful than Trump. Let them go out and be more successful. I will be the happiest person in the world. But we want our children to have a great life and be successful. And 10th, we will ensure that all schools provide excellent jobs and career counseling so that high school and college students can get a head start on jobs and careers best suited to their God-given talents. This is how we will ensure a great education for every American child. And one other thing I'll be doing very early in the administration is closing up the Department of Education in Washington, D.C., and sending all education and education work and needs back to the states. We want them to run the education of our children because they'll do a much better job of it. You can't do worse. We spend more money per pupil by 3 times than any other nation, and yet we're absolutely at the bottom. We're one of the worst. So you can't do worse. We're going to end education coming out of Washington, D.C. We're going to close it up, all those buildings all over the place. And you have people that in many cases hate our children. We're going to send it all back to the states. Thank you very much.
There are so many different things about this that I think are huge. I'll talk about the faith thing in a second because he threw it in there. And there's going to be some people who are going to really be upset. And in some ways, I understand. I have compassion why people would be upset. Oh, Cap, what about the separation of church and state? The state should not tell us whether we should pray or who we should pray to, blah, 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 blah. And I would tell you, frankly, I agree 100%. The federal government has no right to tell us how and who we should.
Yeah, Susan, that came out the last 2 days, didn't it? That one of their nuclear sites was struck as well by Israel.
Worship.
And isn't it telling that Iran hasn't struck back heavily?
But here's where it gets really interesting.
I think they're scared of Israel.
And I think it's important that he's making the comments that he's making. Because up until this point, the school systems have actually told us how to worship. They have told us who to worship. They've told us what are the things that are sacred that we cannot speak against, and what are the things that are worth making parody of. And here's the irony of it is that when it comes to the things of Christianity, it's been fair game in this culture for years, at least a few decades, where you can make fun of Christianity, but you can't make fun of any other religion. You can mock Jesus, but you can't mock Islam because that would make you an Islamophobic. You can't mock Hindus. You can't mock these other things. And let me tell you, you especially cannot mock the LGBT agenda. Can I give you an example here? So what's really interesting right now is in the public school system for a little while, there's been all of these pushes to make sure that if, you should feel safe with whatever sexual identity that you want to have in your school. And it's even creeping into more conservative states. I'll give you an example of a woman that I met at the airport just a few months ago. This woman was from Lincoln, Nebraska. I live in Nebraska myself, so a very conservative state, especially Lincoln. And she's in this public school, and she's a high school counselor. And she'd been a high school counselor for 13 years. I asked her, how she's doing, and she said she was actually done. She was done being a high school counselor, and she was moving into some other kind of more medical profession. I said, oh, really? What happened? She said, I couldn't take it anymore. I got burnt out. And I said, what do you mean you get burned out? Was it because it was too expensive, or you weren't making enough money, or the hours were difficult? And here's what she told me. She said, over the past couple of years, things have just completely gotten out of hand. Number one, the teachers have no respect from the students at all. The students run the show. The students talk back to teachers. The students disrespect teachers. And in some situations, the teachers are actually being physically assaulted by students, and the teachers can't do anything about it. Now, maybe you have some stories I would actually like for you, because there's going to be people who watch this video right here who are going to say that this isn't true and this isn't happening. But the power of your testimony actually sheds light on what's happening across the country. So please do me a favor, testify right now. If you have a personal testimony of how you have seen this sort of thing happen, whether to you personally or to one of your children or a child's friend or whatever, please put that story in the comments right now. I would love to fill the comments with true stories of things that you've seen personally, if you have them. So she's going on saying how the teachers are just not getting any respect from the students. And then here's where things get worse for her as a counselor. As a counselor, she used to, in the past, deal with students who had drug-related issues. They were kind of struggling with stress, and they started getting into drugs, whether it's smoking weed or taking pills or whatever. But she said over the past few years, the vast majority of the people that come in through her office as patients in this high school counseling office are students that are confused about their gender. And not just confused about their gender to the point where they're a boy and they think that they're a female, but to the point where their gender is constantly changing throughout the day. In fact, so much so that when this counselor is having these conversations with these students over the course of 30 minutes, 45 minutes, or up to an hour, this gender of the child changes multiple times in the conversation. So the counselor can't even keep up. The counselor at one point is told that the individual, the student, is a boy, and so she refers to the student as a boy, and then all of a sudden the student changes and says, no, actually, I'm a girl now, and you should have been able to discern that I shifted my gender. And so obviously the counselor is like, this is becoming too much. And then the counselor leaned to me at the airport and said, I even have had students tell me that they were animals, that they identified as cats or dogs. And I'm like, I don't know how to deal with this. And I asked the counselor, I said, so did you get any support from the principal or whatever? And she was like, no, the principal always goes with the children, the students, they're the ones who are right. And they're the ones who have the authority in the situations. And she said, I couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't deal with it. And so you have situations like that. And here's what's interesting is this, my friends, is not merely cultural. It's not a merely cultural phenomenon. It's not a sociological phenomenon. This is a spiritual phenomenon. And what's happening
So
is
when you get back,
there is
Susan,
an idol, a false god being erected in the public school system. It's really in the culture.
okay, guys, this one's the best I've seen Trump do. This is really good, this one.
This is a secret of the used car market, but many people still don't know it. This groundbreaking car spray will make your car look brand new without
that promote the concept of sex and gender.
So a warm welcome back to a legendary swimmer, one of our greatest ever athletes, Sharon Davis. Hello, Sharon.
Oh, Kevin, thank you very much. Good evening to you too.
Always a pleasure to have you on the show. Now, I want you to bear with me. I know you've already watched this video, but I'm going to play the whole thing. This, I think, is a breathtaking statement about trans culture by the new president-elect Donald Trump. Whatever you think about Donald Trump, whether you like his policies or not, you've got to watch this. I think this is astonishing. So let's watch. It goes on for about 3 minutes, and then we'll come back to Sharon and get her take. So take it away, Donald Trump.
Here's my plan to stop the chemical, physical, and emotional mutilation of our youth. On day one, I will revoke Joe Biden's cruel policies on so-called gender-affirming care. Ridiculous. A process that includes giving kids puberty blockers, mutating their physical appearance, and ultimately performing surgery on minor children. Can you believe this? I will sign a new executive order instructing every federal...
Just to play it safe, this is a news channel. So if I stop it every now and then, I won't get copyrighted like I do with the music. So I have to do this a couple of times, guys.
Agency to cease all programs that promote the concept of sex and gender transition at any age. I will then ask Congress to permanently stop federal taxpayer dollars from being used to promote or pay for these procedures and pass a law prohibiting child sexual mutilation in all 50 states. It will go very quickly. I will declare that any hospital or healthcare provider that participates in the chemical or physical mutilation of minor youth will no longer meet federal health and safety standards for Medicaid and Medicare and will be terminated from the program immediately. Furthermore, I will support the creation of a private right of action for victims to sue doctors who have unforgivably performed these procedures on minor children. The Department of Justice will investigate Big Pharma and the big hospital networks to determine whether they have deliberately covered up horrific long-term side effects of sex transitions in order to get rich at the expense of vulnerable patients, in this case, very vulnerable.
Wow.
We will also investigate whether Big Pharma or others have illegally marketed hormones and puberty blockers, which are in no way licensed or approved for this use. My Department of Education.
If this is true and he follows up with what he says, there's going to be a lot of people in jail just over this issue.
Will inform states and school districts that if any teacher or school official suggests to a child that they could be trapped in the wrong body, they will be faced with severe consequences, including potential civil rights violations for sex discrimination and the elimination of federal funding. As part of our new credentialing body for teachers, we will promote positive education about the nuclear family, the roles of mothers and fathers, and celebrating rather than erasing the things that make men and women different and unique. I will ask Congress to pass a bill establishing
Just copywriting it, guys.
That the only genders recognized by the United States government are male and female, and they are assigned at birth. The bill will also make clear that Title IX prohibits men from participating in women's sports, and we will protect the rights of parents from being forced to allow their minor child to assume a gender which is new and an identity without the parents' consent. The identity will not be new, and it will not be without parental consent. No serious country should be telling its children that they were born with the wrong gender, a concept that was never heard of in all of human history. Nobody's ever heard of this, what's happening today. It was all when the radical left invented it just a few years ago.
Wow, he's so right. Wow.
Under my leadership, this madness will end. Thank.
Well, Sharon, I don't.
Okay, that was stunning, guys. I'd like to see what you say about that. Okay, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Here it is.
Oh, you're wearing your party shirt.
So are you.
Yep.
Awkward. Aldi's scrumptious prosciutto.
Shawnee.
Lots of different celebrities deleting their ex accounts, sobbing, going to other countries. I mean, honestly, it's getting pretty ridiculous at this point because it doesn't seem to be ending. Is this what we're going to be seeing a year from now? I don't know. But we're going to get into a ton of stuff. I wanted to play this clip first. We're going to get into also some rather interesting new information we're getting from these parties, my friends, and how it ties in, of course, to a lot of these people that endorsed her. We'll get into that as well. And actually a lot more. We're even seeing entire departments in the GOV melting down and leaving their jobs. We'll get into that as well. First, I want to start with this. This is just to kind of kick off the mood here. Love these people melting down. Check this out. It's pretty hilarious.
If a man talks to me when I'm walking down the street, I'm going to lose my on them. Men are going to live in fear. Oh, women are so sensitive.
Oh my goodness gracious. Yeah. How do they even get like this? I don't even know. I don't even understand this.
Oh, man.
Okay, so he won. I guess it means it's the end of the world for you and your future. For your daughter's future. Your daughter's future's gone. I mean, come on, man. This is so ridiculous. If anything, you're going to have lower taxes and you're going to be able to afford your groceries now. Oh, no, I can afford my groceries now. These people live in a Hollywood bubble, though. A lot of them, not maybe that woman there, but a lot of these people, particularly like Mark Ruffalo, live in a bubble where they don't have to worry about making money or making ends meet or having to pay bills because they're a Hollywood actor, a star, and they can just live off the money that they've made over the years. Unlike you and I, they're more concerned about deleting, babies and things like that instead. It's super important. But of course, here we have Mark Ruffalo, the guy who plays the Incredible Hulk in the Avengers movies, saying what? This is pretty awesome, actually. Check this out.
We got our asses kicked. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
I mean, he sounds like he's depressed while he's saying that. He admits at least that they got their asses handed to him. Okay. Well, I mean, it is kind of funny looking at how depressed he looks when he's saying this. I don't know what inspires these people. What inspires them? Deleting, babies? I don't understand. What's the inspiration behind these people? Don't you like having a normal society where you can afford your bills? And I don't understand what makes them tick, right? But I do understand the reaction we're having to them. And I love this clip. Check this out.
Because again, we have a future, and now the meltdown has begun. We have seen Hollywood melting down. Some people kind of quiet right now, Chris, like Mark Hamill.
Mark Ruffalo.
Mark Ruffalo.
Very quiet. But they.
Yeah, the first thing he said was that.
Can I die? I'm out after this too.
Well, at least he admitted it, right? I mean, honestly, it's just really bizarre. You have all these people. And it seems spiritual. I actually was going to pull up a different clip because I had this one clip. Let me go pull this up really fast. This kind of spells it all out. Okay, check this clip out, my friends. We got this lady here, and she says that she's been puking since the election and has a very weird feeling. And it's really interesting what she's saying here because
And she's got Trump's orange hairdo.
I think it kind of spells out what's really happening, and I'll get into it. It's not something anybody else has really been saying. Check this out.
weird. I'm one of the people who woke up in the middle of the night of election night just feeling a weird feeling, and I spent all day Thursday with a horrible fucking headache, like sleeping all day, only waking up to throw up, and I've seen other people say that shit as well.
So she's saying that it's been days and days at this point. This is already like 4 days later, right? So she's still been having a headache, waking up to sleeping all day, puking. I don't think this is normal. I don't think this is like, oh, we lost. This is more like some weird spiritual thing going on. And I feel like that's what it is. A lot of people won't admit it, but I think this is the dark side. The dark side is reeling and crying and sobbing, and sort of a spirit behind all this that would explain why these people just can't get over this. It's just like, ah, you know what I mean? I feel like that's what's really going on here. And that would explain also this here. Hollywood reacts to 47 winning. Bette Midler deletes X account. Christina Applegate still reeling and sobbing. This is what I'm talking about, right? And Billie Eilish decries war on women. And of course, very interesting with Billie Eilish. She had a song, I think it was called My Lucifer or something weird like that, where she's like dressed like a dark angel and stuff. And I kind of got this feeling like this Lilith, you know, satanic, you know what I mean, whatever you want to call it, feeling from it. I remember they put it on the trending tab as well. And here's something a lot of people have not seen before. Let me show you this. Okay, here's this clip. I'm not going to play it. I'm going to just show how she looks. And it's just really, and this is her. Look at this. Look at this. This is her. She's just, okay, she was just standing there normal. And all of a sudden she just bends her back all the way back while she's still standing up normal. And then she sticks out her tongue and starts waving it. And I'm like, bro, this is not what I would call normal. This is at a
That's like a devil contortion. Look at that.
concert. Okay? Like, how many people can just like stay standing up and then put their head back all the way backwards and stick their tongue out like a snake? I think there's something going on here. I don't think this is normal. Maybe a little bit of spiritual stuff going on here. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. But yeah, like I said, we're going to get into a ton of stuff. In this video, I got some more meltdowns, and we're seeing entire parts of the government just mass exodus, quitting their jobs because they know what's coming. And we're seeing all these people just deleting their Twitter. And I got some pretty interesting stuff to show you regarding Diddy and some of the stuff that's been going on, my friends. We're going to get into that as well in this video. All right. 1 second here. I'm going to try to get past some. First, I got to mention Food Supply, 25-year shelf life. Link is in the description. We got 3 months worth for six. A few more bullets. I don't know. Hopefully that don't happen either. But at any rate, I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't try that again. You know what I mean? At any rate, yeah, I'm talking politically dodging, right? You know, I don't know. At any rate, hopefully everything goes great. But also, of course, my website, GR Videos, go check it out. Link is in the description. A lot of awesome videos, deep dives in a lot of different topics. And also videos from like a decade ago where I'm predicting the stuff we see today. Actually, believe it or not, link is in the description. It's actually kind of fun. I was looking through my old videos. I'm like, do I even want to put these on my website? And then I started watching. I'm like, whoa, dude, I was like totally right about the future. Yeah, people need to see this. Like 10, 15 years ago, I'll be predicting this stuff. At any rate, you're going to go want to check it out. I got deep dives, exclusive content, all that kind of stuff over there. Let's get back to the video. Of course, we have here a lot of people deleting their ex, and even worse. Check this out. I have done all I can do. Writer, General Hospital star Nancy Lee Grahn, whose ex Twitter postings have been long, numerous, and widely followed. I'll be deleting all my social media in protection of my daughter. I'm so sorry. May God help us all. I don't understand why they keep talking about their daughters. I literally don't understand this. I mean, look, okay, Your daughter is probably not going to be an actress. Okay. She might have a job like everyone else. If she does, she won't want her in there, because if she would have got in, and I've covered this on my business channel, almost guaranteed 10% increase on your taxes. You're already broke. You're going to be able to pay 10% more in taxes? That's because they need to stabilize the debt, national debt to GDP ratio, because the GDP is terrible. They have to stabilize it. But of course, 47, when he gets in there, what he's going to do is he's going to drill for oil, which is what they should have been doing the last 4 years. Drill for oil, selling natural gas, backing the dollar with petro oil contracts that will reduce inflation. He's talking about tariffs, which will also reduce taxes. He's already cutting the taxes in half for businesses from 30% to 15%. That's what he's going to do. He's going to cut your taxes while he's increasing tariffs. Now, of course, some are out there like, oh, tariffs are going to make everything expensive. No, they won't. You don't understand how it works. I run a business. I understand. I used to sell stuff online. I know all about this. So you have lots of expenses when you sell product, right? One of those things is taxes. Your taxes are already cut in half for your business. That means you can lower your price. Oh, but tariffs are going to cause things to be more expensive. He can put tariffs where he wants to. He's not going to put them on everything. And if he does put them on some sort of items you need, it's probably not going to be that bad. It's probably going to be better than your tax. It's probably going to be less than your tax was decreased, which means you're still going to have a lower price, lower cost, which means you're going to have a lower price on the items you sell. That's what's going to happen. And he's even talking about getting rid of taxes altogether if these tariffs work. So,
good night, Shawnee. Good night, Wire.
Honestly, this is a win-win. So on the economy side, your daughter's going to be doing better, period. I guess she won't be able to delete as many, babies or something, but I don't know how that's her future. That's a really grim, weird future. I don't know what you're talking about. You can still do that. It's not like that's not even possible, which is really, honestly, I wish they'd just get rid of it everywhere, but it's still there. You can go to various states and get it done. So it's just really ridiculous how they're talking. Joker 2, actor says, it's the worst film ever made, and people on set said this is going to be a bomb. It's not even hate-watchable. That's how terrible it is. I heard about this. I heard it was like a musical, which is really the most weird thing I've ever. Joker 1 was not a musical, and it was very raw and real. Why would you turn Joker 2 into a musical? What are you doing? This isn't Mary Poppins, okay? This is Joker 2. It's like turning this into a musical. Can you imagine this movie a musical? Like, what? You know what I mean? I haven't actually watched this movie. I'm going to watch it maybe today. I've heard some people saying, I've heard most people say it's good. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm going to watch it. I'm just putting it up there because I'm talking about Hollywood right now. So at any rate, the fact is Joker 2 is a complete and utter bomb. I saw Joe Rogan and laughing about it, saying it was the worst movie ever. I don't know how it has a 5.2 on IMDb. I don't even have a clue how it has a 5.2. If it's really that bad, why does it have a 5.2? I don't get it. All right, I really don't get it. But at any rate, we had Robert De Niro in the first one, Joker 1, and apparently they did cut some of the scenes from that movie. Of course, I think we're starting to see some of the writing on the wall for these Hollywood actors and actresses. They're now starting to lose work. I've heard about Whoopi Goldberg losing some lines on Toy Story, the new one coming out. I've heard about Brie Larson. She was canceled from this movie, whatever scene she had in there. That's why the movie was a success. I think it all came back to Aquaman. What was that, like a year or two ago? They had Amber Heard in it. They lost about $200 million because they put her in the movie. They're starting to understand, wait a second, do I want to make $200 million more dollars? Why am I paying this actress that's making me lose money? I don't get it. Let's just cut them out of the movie. So they're now cutting these people out of movies. They're cutting Amber Heard, Brie Larson. They're canceling future movies because of this. Even Blade, the new Blade was getting canceled because of this movie right here. Because they don't want someone to replace Wesley Snipes because they want him only, right? So you have people like Robert De Niro here, which clearly can't stop talking. He has that derangement, syndrome like there's no tomorrow.
This is yet again another actor that is self-absorbed, another in the Hollywood bubble that really has no touch with reality, like Jimmy Kimmel, George Clooney, Joy Behar, Whoopi Goldberg. I mean, there are so many that we could name.
Honestly, I think, George Clooney may have a little bit more of a touch because he doesn't usually talk much. He says a little bit here and there, but he's definitely on the wrong side. I would definitely say that for sure. It is kind of funny he got blamed for her loss, which I found pretty hilarious. But Whoopi Goldberg is 100%. Joy Behar are just completely melting down. Every day it's a new video. How it's going to be the worst 4 years ever. It's hilarious to watch because they're going to be completely shown to not know what they're talking about whatsoever. Because once he gets in, you're going to see prices go down. Even though I'm pretty sure we're going to have a stock market crash. So there is that issue, but it's not his fault. As I've already said, I cover the economy all over on my other channel a lot. We already have 3 charts pretty much guaranteeing we're going to have a stock market crash in the next couple of months. So if it happens, it's not his fault. If it happens right when he gets in, it's not his fault because it's like obvious. The charts say it's going to happen no matter what. Anybody could get in and it's going to crash. But the fact is, I think things are going to be a lot better. I think they're going to be a lot better. And if she would have got in, it would have been a hellscape. The economy would have been in ruins. And I'm thinking it would have been really like Venezuela almost, maybe. I don't know, man. I think it would have gotten really bad. And the fact is she had to pay people to endorse her and still is in debt, having $1 billion, spent $1 billion in 3 months. 47 had 11 months with only 400 million, and he had over 20 million left over because he didn't have to pay people like Sylvester Stallone or Hulk Hogan to endorse him. They wanted to do it willingly. And so you had lots of different A-list actors, including Shazam star, what was his name? Zachary, I can't remember his last name. That guy also endorsed him, but obviously there's a lot more endorsements from celebrities on her side compared to his. But of course, she claims she didn't pay anybody. Okay, where did the $1 billion go? Did you guys just make a big bonfire and burn it all? I don't understand. Clearly, you gave it to somebody. Of course, I think they're just trying to trick you a little bit because Oprah also claims she didn't get paid, but then we have the receipts showing her company was paid for event production. So I'm guessing this is the same thing everywhere. They probably did the exact same template with all these actors and actresses and celebrities so that they could have plausible deniability. Well, we didn't pay any of them for endorsement. No, you paid their company that they own or they work with. You paid them for event production. You paid Eminem, event production, some money probably. You paid Beyonce, event production, some money. I'm just guessing. Their company. I'd like to see him deny that. I'd like to see him deny it. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. I'm guessing quite a few of those are true. And now, of course, a lot of this money came from all these billionaires because they don't want him in because maybe they were at some of those parties. I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of weird. I don't know. Maybe they were at some of those parties. 12 Silicon Valley billionaires and tech heads backing her, from Apple's Steve Wozniak to LinkedIn's Reid Hoffman and Shark Tank's Mark Cuban. And you had lots of other ones as well. And of course, on his side, you had Elon Musk. I mean, that's about it. I mean, well, maybe you had a couple others. I don't know. Peter Thiel, did he follow? I don't know if he did or not. But not very many, if any. Very few. Not even those that are rhinos would back him. I mean, you got the Koch brothers or whatever they're called. They didn't even back him, right? So it is kind of interesting how she thought she would somehow save the economy while blowing through $1 billion, going 20 million in debt. Doesn't even pay her. She can't even pay her staff. She owes her staff and is negative 20 million. And she says she's going to fix the economy. Are you kidding me? Give me a break. Clearly, you would not be able to fix the economy. And we have other meltdowns like Rachel Zegler. I find myself speechless in the midst of this. Another 4 years of hatred, leading us towards a world I do not want to live in. Leading us towards a world that will be hard to raise my daughter. Why do they keep talking about their daughter? Bro, your daughter, if she gets a normal job, she'll actually be able to afford her bills now. Not all your daughters of these Hollywood people are going to be actors and
Okay, guys, I'm going to call it quits. See you tomorrow, guys. God bless.
Actresses. Or, well, I guess that is technically true because some of them become men, right? I don't know.